Right, it is Summoning Insight again. And this time, you might think because the LCK has ended, because the LTA has ended, well, some would say the LTA never lived. In some ways, it was just a dream, like the dream of Roman gladiator that will never actually be seen, and all the good men who fight for it will die. But enough about that. Basically, you might think we've got nothing to talk about. Well, first of all, you clown, they've ended, so we get to talk about the finals. You didn't think that through, did you? We talk about the past, not just the future. And also, we're right smack bang in the middle of LPL and LEC, and those are absolutely banging at the moment. And there's like all sorts of drama and narratives and fucking flipping of the script of who's supposed to do what and everything. There's a million different angles for this one. We've got there's loads of, there's the viewership. Riot are still just finding a way every week to be like, haha, here's a new way we're going to farm all the money from you. And everyone's like, the fuck? I thought the game was free. It's like, yeah, free to be poor, you little bitch. Like, they're on some Andrew Tate shit. Like, yeah, you little brokies, buy all my shit. What colour's your chroma Lambo? Like, fucking hell, all right. So anyway, there's loads we can get into here. But I think what we do is this, Yamato. Since we just watched it right now, why don't we talk about the fucking LPL? Because, mate, there are two angles here. But I guess what we'll do is we'll address the lower bracket first because we can reverse the story. Essentially, if people don't know, BLG, when it was just the last group stage game, so it didn't matter. And I will say, this is something where you've got to have watched the LPL, otherwise you will have already lost your shit, and you probably did something stupid like bet on Thunder Talk in the playoffs as well, which is, you have to understand that when it's a game that doesn't matter in the LPL, and especially before the playoffs, it is notorious that the best teams lose games and almost like play stupidly, and just like, it's why it's very rare anyone ever can. I don't think there's a reason why you don't get perfect splits in the LPL. That's one of the reasons why they'll just have a wacky game against oftentimes not even a top team as well. It's also why, by the way, just as an aside, people always speculate it's like match fixing and all that shit. I will just say this, as a person who's a journalist and a responsible figure, you should never actually say that that's happening. You can maybe speculate if you thought it was really egregious in the game, but you should never say that's happening without evidence. That's actually a serious crime you're accusing someone of. You can even in certain countries actually be sued for saying that, by the way, in Korea probably. And then also, so basically, Thunder Talk did beat BLG, and they didn't just beat them. I know it looks like 3-2. Oh, no, mate. That was one of the ones where they were beating them like every single game, but then BLG just like forcibly hands their way back into a couple, but still lost. So from that, you could maybe think, okay, well, there's something there. At least BLG's beatable. You know, they can lose. And these aren't the best players. So they came in the low bracket of the playoffs. But the problem is, if you then saw the Weibo and the rematch against Thunder Talk, you'd go the other way, wouldn't you? You'd be like, you know what? That was just that fucking little speed bump. They're back. That's got, that's reawakened the fire. So they come to play together against top esports. By the way, I'll just remind everyone, if you only watch Worlds, you're looking at top esports going, it's all the fucking Inters. These guys fucking suck. And it's like, mate, we've just seen in this series, like top esports, they were fucking cooking. But here's the thing, BLG wasn't shit either. Like, I want to remind people, that would have been 5 games. Like, Bin, for some reason, after like last year, playing almost every series perfectly, just decided, like, have a free one. This one's on me. He just gave one game away. But I thought this was actually kind of a banger series, mate. It was really exciting.
I just like set the context, right? It's like that game 3, 10k gold lead, they just dropped that and lost when Civi was like 2-3 items ahead. There was like a circumstance where Ben, like there was a sleeping Varus and he misses Q3 on Kesanta, doing very uncharacteristic mistakes. Like dissecting Billy, like looking at this series, I do think that this was probably the worst I've ever seen Ben play. Ben has such a long history of just performing and getting his teams through and always being like elo held before he joined like the big teams. But this was just a very, very poor series by his standard. There was like it definitely went deeper because of Fearless, because he had to play Aatrox. This is something that he's like never known for. But that Jax game, like in the swap scenario, like I'm just sitting there, it's like, it's been on Jax, he's going to figure it out. But it's like understanding of like the moments to go in and go out was just too rough. And sure, like in this moment, I'm like focusing on Bin, because usually it would be like Bin and Knight would always drag them over the finish line, whether it was like a best of 3 or a best of 5. In this particular case, I thought with Top Esports' current form, I thought it would be possible too. It's like On's form hasn't been the same since the World Championship. He just looks completely off. Like that game on Bard, like I was just screaming like enemy Bard, enemy Bard. Like Bard is one of his weaker champs for sure, but this was just straight terrible. Like in my mind, looking at Billy is just in terms of what the off season and like the narrative that was like built in the beginning with whole the Shun in, of course, the off season, wanting to grab Knight and then to move to IG. He was like poaching, and then he was like removed from the team. To think now that Shun on JDG has already gotten further into the bracket than Billy is crazy to even think about, because the main question was, it's like, oh, they kept Wei, that's fine, Billy should be the top dog, the top contender, but this split with their journey that they've taken, they are so far from it. Like, especially when it comes to Fearless. Like, I thought, okay, these are players like Elk has a deep pool. You have, of course, Knight with one of the deepest mid lane champion pools. It's like the only player that's maybe comparable is like Caps, like in terms of what they play, but they never got to showcase that fully. So it's like the Billy story is insanely disappointing. It's like LPL has been so dramatic with how it has played out, because it was so up and down all over the place.
No, the saddest thing is, we'll just do the BLG side first. Like, this is why I never went super hard in it, because they did win summer, but I always did think this is puzzling that you don't keep Shun. Like, if anything, in that scenario, if I'm choosing between the two, he's the one you just re-sign and you run it back with. You say, look, we almost won Worlds together. We were like that far away, and we were the champions of MSI and fucking second at MSI and won the LPL Spring. Like, that's enough for me. So to me, it's not even that Wei's terrible. He's just not it. He's not, put it this way, you saw in this series when you have Kanavi, you see anytime you go against the absolute best junglers, he's not it, mate. He's not one of those like elite world-class junglers in the same way, because I do think people misunderstand that like the LPL has some demon junglers. I've seen this like in the upper bracket. Like, if you're just a normal jungler, mate, good luck playing against Tarzan. Good luck playing against some of these fucking people, mate. You'll just get dusted off. Like, these guys, when they're on their game, just outbrain you, outhand you, everything. So that jungle one looks regrettable at this point in time. And by the way, he also got his shit pushed in by that fucking Thunder Talk jungler. If you go back to base one, that guy was fucking cooking him. Then I definitely agree about On. This is why one of the things that was different about me, a pleb from Counter-Strike who knows nothing about the game, versus like Dom, I can't remember what your list was, like Cadril. When I went to their tier list for Worlds, they were all putting On like S tier, bro. Some of them had him, I'm not joking, like the 5th best player of the whole World Championship. They had him put on crazy, like not even.
I think that might have been me, bro. I was big on the On hype train, okay. but carry on.
Yeah, but here's my problem. To me, he always is like, to me, he's like a Hylissang, mate. If you see like the shit he does when like the team's winning and it's working and he's on his best champions, yeah, he'll find some mega engage angle. His balls are fucking huge. He's always willing to go back in. He's always willing to die, by the way. But the problem as well is he has the downsides of Hylissang too. Like, mate, he can int some fucking criminal games. Like, you were saying it there. It's not even just like the playmate. As soon as I see him lock a Bard, mate, my heart just sinks. Like, by the way, I actually think Bard is one of those champions. It's niddly for junglers. It's like, unless you're elite on this shit, please don't play it. Like, I know it looks dope. First of all, in solo queue, when no one has comms, you're having a great time. Oh, just going all over the place. And then also, you watch the best Bard. You watch like some carrier Bard, and you're like, oh, I want to play that. It's like, you are. Remember, I always tell all the supports this every morning. You know, women like to do those affirmations like, you are beautiful, you are respected, you're gonna have a great day today, and they say it in the mirror to themselves, the feedback loop. I feel like all these supports need to actually do a negative affirmation. They need to go in front of the mirror and go, just remember, you aren't carrier. Even if it feels like it'd be cool to try and do the things he does, you aren't him. There's only one carrier, and he isn't looking in the mirror. Right, cool. Now I'm grounded. Now I can actually go out into the world and not make a fool of myself, because I agree, like that one was criminal. And the other problem On has is you saw it at Worlds as well. Just like Hylissang, here's the problem I've always had with these players, mate. I'll give a very weird illusion, because I'm not saying this player's as good, but I actually think Malrang has the same problem. You know, when Rogue was winning all those games and they won the championship and there were all those finals, everyone would go, right, Malrang got to be all pro, right? And I'd go, not in a million years. What are you talking about? Like, yo, you are aware he'd do all the same plays on the worst team in the league. I mean, the joke is he's now proved that on Rogue, but like he would do the exact same play if he had the worst solo laners. If he had no fucking team. He's not doing it because it's like the right play. He's seen an angle and he just goes for it. I always thought Hylissang and Honor like that too. They're not actually able, because no one can calculate in the moment, like, will this work? And if it doesn't, should I come out? What they do is they see an angle and they just fuck And that can be mega when it's working, but man alive, it looks bad when it doesn't work. Like, you look like a fucking idiot sometimes. Like, the amount of times they go in and then the worst thing is when they're on the squishy and the health patch gets popped instantly. You're like, bro, like, even though in theory the support being killed shouldn't be the end of the fight, like, it just demoralizes your team for the team fight. Then that's when the fucking that's when if you had upset, he's going to fucking take 3 steps back. We all know what certain players are like. Fucking the person's going to cancel the TP, all that shit back. Well, we could do that back in the day. So, no, BLG didn't look good. I'll give them that. Like, essentially, it did remind me when we talk later about GenG, they were just trying to brute force hands it sometimes and just be like, look, we are still fucking sick players. Like, we can win these fights. I'm sure in scrims or solo queue, they're still sick players, but you just saw that, like, there's another thing about Fearless. Fearless isn't just hands, actually, mate. I actually think in some sense it has come down to a lot more things. Like, can you even pilot the comp you end up on in game 5? Because no one can ever prepare to get there. So if we flip it over to the TES side, I'll tell you one place I'm going to start that no one who watched the series is going to think about. Because I've been thinking the same thing when I watched Anyone's Legend. Yeah, on the screen, I watch Shank Squaff and I watch these great performers. I watch Tarzan play fucking amazing League of Legends. When I watch TES, I'm like, you know what? Actually, Cream is doing what everyone wrote him off for last year. Everyone gave him like a couple of splits. Then after the first split on TES, mainly because of MSI, he almost lost to Fnatic and they did lose to G2. Everyone was like, nah, I'm out on him. It's like, I always said, like, he's still pretty young in his career, you know. Then at Worlds, he was just kind of whatever. He didn't get that, whatever. I basically think people did write him off too soon. This is the split where Cream has percolated, mate. Now he actually is just doing all that. And it isn't just like on a Yone pick or something, mate. He's doing all a bunch of champions. Remember, if you could, it's actually somewhat similar to what Zekka's done in fucking LCK.
Yeah.
We told these guys they're 3-pick champions that only play the melees. And then you see them actually go deep in game 5s and Fearless over and over. And game 4, they're actually still cooking, mate. Like, these guys are actually just legit top talents. And I'll just put this out there. The thing I was thinking, though, wasn't about Cream initially. I was just thinking, bro, we need to like reevaluate, because there's a factor to the LPL, which is maybe it's because they all like to fight. There's a lot of talent. If I'm making a superstar team, Yamato, here's the order I make the team, right? I want my superstar player. I want Knight, or I want Bin, or I want in the back of the day Rookie. I want some stud player. I want Scout. I want some of the absolute best player in the league. But actually, after that, I'm not going to put too much emphasis on all the other players. The second person I'm securing is I'm just calling up speed dial. I've got 2 numbers every offseason I call. First number's Om. The second number's Tabe. If they don't pick up, then I have to get someone else, and then I'll start signing other star players. Because, bro, people keep making super teams and mega rosters, and these guys get whatever fucking roster, and then they're just fucking walking on water. They're fucking miracle workers. Like, the guy, you can't. I don't think some people have looked at his record. At this point, there's like there's no players shared between all of his teams. He just does it with every fucking team. The guy's his ability to get his team to a good, especially for the playoffs, is fucking incredible at this point. So you can't argue against the record. It's just mega, mate.
And looking at Top Esports last year, it's like they started with Despair, the coach from OMG, and then they added MKoi, who's the coach of, I believe, Billy now. And like MKoi, you know, world champion winner, they tried to add somebody else, and they still had the same problems. Top Esports, when they were playing elimination games, just didn't look good enough. And now it's like, bro, like some of the series that we've had, it's so obvious that they're like massive coaching series. Like we can talk about the KCG2 one later, but just like G2 outdrafting KC4 game straight, brilliant strategy. The Anyone's Legend one, of course, with Tabe against JDG, because like Anyone Legends players, they were worse. They were worse on the day.
Oh, they were.
Plain and simple. It's like they had such an easy draft to execute in a lot of spots, and they were struggling when they really shouldn't have. And today as well, it's like even that game 4, the Renata find on 5-pick just curves out the whole comp in a way that just makes it so difficult to play for Billy and Top Esports all of a sudden like shed this kind of identity they've had, that the last series they play in the season is just disgusting. And I thought this was going to be the one, especially after that game 1, because that game 1 looked like one of those games that we saw from Top Esports against T1, where they are not pressing their buttons. Every fight is them just running off, using ults before the fight because they're getting caught, just looking out of rhythm, out of sorts. Even though Billy like don't have like the best draft, they were just first on the objectives. They were more concrete in the way they played, and Top Esports kind of just walked off, similar to how they played against T1. I think everybody remembers that series because I guess everybody watches Worlds. But that series is like Top Esports was like, oh, we are engaging, are we fighting, are we not going? And it's really good to see that Top Esports. It's like I was starting to doubt Jackie Love. I was starting to doubt 369. Like I am very fair with giving players.
They're on the down, mate.
I'm very, very fair with giving people time, like especially like legendary players like these. But they were really, really, really like not performing up to par for quite some time. And seeing, top esports, especially 369, to win a series on a cannon after what he did last year on the AD cannon in the final game of a series, it's quite poetic. So to see top esports in this form, I think is super, super good. And I think Kanavi, to me, there was a discussion that happened on stream where someone mentioned, it's like, someone said, hot take, Kanavi has been a better jungler than Canyon the last 3 years. And I think, I'm like, yeah, for sure. Because I watch LPL. I watch LPL. and everyone was up in arms about this, about, no, Canyon is better. It's like, bro, Kanavi JDG 2023 was insane. 2024, if it wasn't for Milky Way doing miracles, his spring split was an MVP caliber split. He was dragging players that really didn't want to win on that JDG roster. Kanavi, as you mentioned yourself, right? It's like the junglers you have in LPL and the volume they need to go through in order to like be good. It's like the fucking top 3 junglers in LPL are crazy. It's like you have Kanavi, Tarzan, and then also Tian. It's like these are some good fucking junglers that you have to perform against. But everyone always only sees the World Championship. So I'm hoping that's I'm hoping people want to watch more and more LPL because the volume there is so important. And I think it should be a factor when you rate somebody's career, because it's always, Tarzan choked at Worlds against T1. Haha, he's bad. No, man, he's so good.
No, those are two of the players. We can segue from this. On the Kanavi one, the problem is it's too ingrained in people's brain, that one crazy Belveth fucking Insit game he had against T1 when JDG was supposed to do the Golden Road, because that's in everyone's brain. They're acting like he does that all the time. No, he has occasional games like that, but one of the reasons he has games like that is he is also like someone who is a massive playmaker and insane carry player from the jungle. So no, when he's on his game, you can tell he puts fear in the other junglers, mate. You can see that this is one of the people who's like intimidating, and he just has to have the stars around him. And then if we pivot, the other person who at this point in time is one of the most criminally underrated players ever in League of Legends is Tarzan, who obviously now plays for anyone's legend. I'm with you, Yamato. If you look at this roster, this is why you have to take the Tarbe factor into account, or you'll never be able to understand what happened with this roster. Like, I'll even run down it now. Flandre is like good above average, but like he's seen his better years ages ago. By the way, guys, 10 years ago was when he was in his prime and was like one of the best carries in the world. Then you have Shanks, who's really, really good, but he's almost on like the cream a year ago shit of like, yeah, like you expected them to be the next top player, but they haven't done it yet. They have to show you in the playoffs. They have to show you when they're on a real team. You have to not be on, you can't be the one where you're on the bad team and you're sort of carrying, but that's not the same as being the star on the top team. Hope, basically, people don't even know he used to be a champion from his JDG, but that's the point. He never really made like a massive reputation. He's just a good player. He's not some Jackie Love level player. And then Kale, by the way, the guy used to be, no one remembers this, used to be on that Live Sandbox that should have actually been at Worlds over fucking DRX. This guy made one of the most improved players in the entire LPL. Like, he's way better than 4. But here's the thing, you still look at that roster, bro, and you're just not supposed to ever be in the finals with that roster. And so I'm going to give 2 people massive credit, and those are Tarbe, because again, like Dylan Falco, like he is cooking these fucking fearless drafts, bro. He's doing the thing where you're not only doing your side, you're just cooking the other guy's side. You're full Yu-Gi-Oh! In this fucker with your trap cards and everything. And then obviously it's got to be Tarzan. I made this tweet on Twitter because it's not until like accomplishments get so, or stats get so crazy that you can change the narrative of a pleb when they've decided you suck. And because if you watched Worlds, look, I'd probably think Tarzan sucks and was overrated if I only ever watched Worlds. Problem is, I watched his entire career in Griffin, and then I watched him in all these LPL teams. And I just noticed every LPL team he's in either qualifies to Worlds or is almost there. And now he's got a stat that's just fucking godlike, mate. So he's played in LCK and LPL. He's now made 6 finals with 4 different organizations. And 2 of those, by the way, were like LNG and anyone's legend. It's not like he was on, the fucking most famous one where he's rammed to a talent. Like, this guy's just fucking unbelievable. And the worst thing is, I feel like because he failed at Worlds, people miss a really subtle thing about his game, mate, which is he's so fucking cerebral and intelligent about the game. Like, first of all, if you ever saw him in Griffin, he always had really good hands. But he actually was never the guy, if he played like a Lee Sin, who just did the 24/7 go in on the queue. His would be like, I hold it back and I wait for the right angle. I go in and I always get the perfect kick out. That's what I do. So like, he has the hands, but he doesn't like abuse them. By the way, that's really rare in the LPL. The LPL is full of the MLXG guys who just fucking send it at 24/7. I even think that's when Jun's at his best, is when that sort of player. That's why the whole Scarlet at Worlds thing was sort of like an illusion bait. That was him not playing as his own game. He was almost just told, come in and don't be weird. That's your job. So first of all, Tarzan is like that. And then secondly, one of the weirdest things about esports I found is a lot of the players who choke badly in like the major in Counter-Strike or Worlds in League, they actually tend to be the cerebral players. Because my logic goes like this: when you're under pressure and you feel really boxed in, that's actually when it's hardest to make like like an even-keeled, like logical decision about what you want to do and weigh things up. You have got time for that when it's a less pressure game or it's just your region where you already run it. These players are the ones that fail. So sadly, if you watch Worlds, you're going to think he's just a moron or he doesn't make any plays or he's just over it. But if you ever watch him in the LPL, mate, every split pretty much, he just runs the fucking LPL. He's one of the best. And then I've obviously got to say the Tabe angle, like, how can you deny it at this point in time, mate? At this point, it's like when Doinby came back and he had an IP. It's like, mate, at this point, I almost feel like these people can just have any talent and they'll make it like not the best, but better. They'll always make it better. This guy has got what you call the Midas touch. Everything he touches turns into gold. If I gave this roster to any other coach, I think it would come like fourth. You know, you could still come maybe fifth to sixth. There's a lot of talent. Bro, they're in the finals. They might even win this motherfucker yet. So give me some anyone's legends thoughts, mate.
No, it's crazy because even in that series, I felt like JDG just played better individually. There were so many unforced errors that anyone legend just basically just got away with because their drafts just gave them so many angles to come back into the game. I got that game 5 with the Jinx, Lulu, Galio. Like that should have been so easy breezy, but somehow they were suffering even in that one. And you could see Tabe backstage, like he was just like waiting and chilling. Like his job was done. Like I would have been so pissed from his side if they somehow managed to throw that game 5. I'm just putting up the rest of the drafts because even in that game that they lost with the Camille, Ziggs, Tristana, like that was just Shanks, like completely drooling on his keyboard, missing the flash auto, hit the turret. Like that draft was also insane. They had like Camille, Ziggs, Tristana into a Zeri draft, which was super insane. It's like even in the games that they were losing, I think that the draft and the prep, they did a fantastic job. I think like JDG, it's like Tabe we praise. If there's someone that deserves shit for best of fives and memorable, like the memorable drafts that they just stick through and just force your players to play, it has to be CV Max. Like CV Max, his career of best of fives is just so damn atrocious. It stretches back to the Griffin days.
So many times, yeah, so many times, man.
It's stretching back to the Griffin days when Griffin, like back then, the LCK format was just you are number one, you get to go to the finals right away. So the experience wasn't there, but we had that famous like Pantheon, Thalia, stubbornness. And then in this draft too, where like in this series, they just, I don't know, the read was just so off. It's like matching Jinx with Misfortune Cannon when Galio is open. Galio could have been a blind pick mid even, and it sets up the Jinx Lulu for success, and there was no melee supports at all. Dropping 4-5, not picking Blitzcrank or Pantheon. I don't know, there's so many question marks. There was no thought. It was just so spontaneous and random, and I don't know which players would walk into that game 5 and feel good about that. It's like Scout solo killed the Galio. Like how much more do you want him to do in that game? You know, it's such a hard Hwei game because it's 15-4 and it's also nerfed and they're just playing just so wrong champs. So it's like in terms of preparation, like anyone's legend, and of course top esports look giga sharp. But JDG in terms of like individual performance, especially with pace getting in better and better, I do think there's some opportunity there. But to bring it back to the point you mentioned about Tarzan, I do think it's like if I would just look at like players that performed like best in regular splits of all time, like Tarzan is up there, Chovy is up there, Scout is up there. Like a lot of them, the usual names that people like mention in the Go conversation, they are not there. It's like Canyon is not there. Canyon regular season performers are not there. Fake regular season is like usually fine in spring, summer it falls off, right? It's like Knight is not a player. It's like he ramps up and then he just drops bangers after bangers as things get more intense. It's like Billy as a whole as you mentioned yourself, is just a team that doesn't put in the same amount of oomph in the games that just don't matter. But Tarzan, just his volume in isolation is just so amazing. But then it's like when you get to the World Championship, you get challenged on so many different skills. It's like there's always that conversation like, why does T1 always perform well at Worlds? Because these guys are they're under so heavy pressure perma. They probably have the most relaxing time at the World Championship because they don't have as much media obligations, but at the same time they do, but other teams do too. You are traveling constantly under different circumstances, and all these players that are these volume players that are practicing and are mastering like a very certain way of playing, these are the guys that don't perform as well as the World Championship. Like Chovy can be good, Tarzan can be good, but when the meta shifts, all of a sudden a player like Chovy that wants to be mastered in certain matchups, wants to play Cork Italia to absolute perfection, it just isn't the same player. And I think that's like just the nuance of how different the World Championship is and why players like Tarzan might just not perform as well, or a player like Scout might not perform as well. It's like being in an environment where you practice steadily, scrim day, match day, scrim day, break day, scrim day, and it's just a schedule. When you get to the World Championship, it's like I remember this post. There was like this video by Kerry. It's like, bro, we needed to cancel scrims because they had to they flew us up on a helicopter on a platform, and we just had to stand there in the fucking cold for 6 hours while they were shooting B-roll of us, you know, in preparation of a video. You know, it's like, bro, your practice is insanely sporadic at the World Championship. But bringing it back to the point, CV Max pisses me off, man. CV Max just really drives me insane, man.
Here's the problem. It's obvious to me, someone just has to do what fucking Steve from Team Liquid did to Giotto. You got to take the draft away from him. Because here's the thing, CV Max's like record finding talents, putting rosters together, fabulous. He's a brilliant creative thinker in those ways, and he can see things about players that other people don't think. Everyone tells me now, yeah, but this is where people are just morons, mate. They tell me, yeah, but look at all those players, they're all sick even without him now. Yeah, that means he was actually right, you are aware. Like, that means, what? That means he scouted out like solo queue and challenged all the players. You know, by the way, like, other people could pick those players up. They're all in bloody solo queue. You can go watch the games on OPGG and go, no one else saw anything. Everyone's just, and he not only found one or two, he found them all. He found like fucking loads of them. So it's wild, but I'm with you. His genius does not enter the draft phase, because when he cooks in the draft phase, the joke is he could fuck up a pan of boiling water, mate. That's how shit he is at cooking. It's sad we haven't got the stream. I'd do it if I had the sponsor for this episode. I'd do a straight fire fucking segue, wouldn't I, into how he needs to use a certain sponsor from past episodes. You know? But by the way, it was HelloFresh. We not even do it for this one, but they can have a free shout out there. No, he badly needs it, bro. He needs that one that they have. Again, I wish they were the sponsor this episode. He needs that, like, you know, like the easy like prep and bake one or whatever. That only takes 5 minutes and they give you all the ingredients. Like, look, just put them together very basically and make a meal. Because he's going in there, Yamato, like someone who can't cook. He's coming in going like, what am I making here? Tomato pasta? Oh, easy, right? We've got the pasta. I'm going to go with like extra spices from the Middle East. I'm going to go with like a special vegan tofu pasta that my aunt grew on her. Like, fucking hell, bro, just make it easy. Just make it simple. Because the worst thing is, this is also one of the things I think about Fearless Draft. I want to throw it back to you as a coach. Is it's given people the perception, because the gods of the draft, the Dylan Falcos, can just cook crazy. It's given this really weird perception, Yamato, that if you're versus the top team, you always have to cook. I actually think if you're not Dylan Falco, it's the opposite. I think if you're not a Dylan Falco genius in the draft, then when you get deep in the draft, you just try and make it simple for your players, mate. You just give them like a comp that makes sense. You give them something that's workable. You give them lanes they know they can win. You don't go for like, you did, that was your trap card. That trap card activated my trap card, which is a trap card that I didn't even have. It didn't exist, therefore you couldn't write. No, you've not only tricked the other guy, mate, you've tricked your own team and maybe yourself at this point in time. Like, you can do a thing where you try and second guess and triple guess, and the other guy just does a straightforward play and you just lose from that, mate. So I think some people are cooking way too hard in the draft. Some of these people need to be banned from cooking.
100%, bro. CV Max, bro, he strikes me as the type of guy that, like, let's say he loves an artist. And it's like an indie artist that's like underground, you know, he listens to songs, he's like, yeah, this is so cool. But then this artist blows up, you know, no longer a SoundCloud rapper. He just blows up to the mainstream. It's like, no, I don't like him anymore. He's too popular. He's too popular. Like, these champions, they are too good. Everybody plays them. I want to be unique. I want to do something different. That's the vibe I always get from CV Max. It's like these drafts, he's trying so hard to be different that it just drives me crazy. And I feel like that's the part of what pissed me off about the Griffin runs, is that even though with the whole drama between him and Sword and everything that happened, that he wasn't there at the World Championship. It seemed like that Griffin roster was so scarred coming into that best of 5 because Chovy was still playing tanks when they had Sword top. And I will never forget Sword saying that in the interview. It's like, wow, I was surprised. The Shy is really good. And that headline just made my head explode. So it's just, CV Max is just trying way too hard to be cool. I think Danny is also one of those guys that sometimes gets it done, because like Weibo had some good runs, of course, at the World Championship. Now Danny's at IG, but Danny also had moments where it's like, what the hell are you doing, bro? We're playing Lucian here. We're dropping games against Fnatic. They did that at 2 different World Championships. They dropped the games against Fnatic when they were just much better than Fnatic at that point in time. I think, you know, the main art, in my opinion, is like, it's like, especially coming from my experience when it comes to like coaching, is it's like your drafts are supposed to hide all your flaws, all that information.
And this is where I actually am too polite myself in some ways, mate, because since you're still working away on the show, I haven't really started roasting you. I obviously should have done that bullshit throw where I said, well, Yamato, speaking as someone who has experience of getting completely outdrafted in a best of 5, what do you think of that one? I couldn't have done that one, but listen, I know the wound's still fresh. It's just a joke. Just
go for it, bro. Bro, you have history. Go for it, bro.
Anyway,
it's like you are supposed to hide all your weaknesses, you know? You're supposed to stand there, stand tall, and sometimes you're standing there tall, you have a trench coat and you're standing on a pair of sticks, you know? Like you're basically you're hiding all the flaws of the team. It's like 2022 Fnatic. It's like everyone's like, why the fuck is Yamato not banning Yuumi? Is he dumb? It's like, no, bro. We just don't have, we're not ready to play Lulu. We didn't have the answers into Lucian Nami. If we have to ban Yuumi, they pick Lucian. We are screwed. This is just a facade in terms of what we do and like where we're at, and it's just not possible, you know. And it's like in terms of where you're at, like the last best of 5 that I played was like the Fearless one, we lost against fucking Bulldog Esports. That one you can roast me for. But even in that one, we are in game 5 and we have limitations. We have limitations in terms of champions, what we can play. It's like 1080s out, and I just know we need to set up a Xayah Rakan. We banned Lulu because if they pick Lulu, we didn't have an answer. We didn't have any melee supers to play. It just wouldn't work. So we banned Lulu. We picked Xayah Rakan. There were answers into Xayah in the shape of Zeri, and it's not the best into, of course, Jarvan, but our Zeri results were just so trash. So we're just trying to piece it together. And then there was the final aspect. We picked Melu, and it was horrible. My boys thought it was OP, and I didn't have the conviction to tell them that it's just trash. And those are like, everything is at play when these things go down. It's like Dylan Falco is capable of doing these things because they are cerebral enough to see where the draft is heading. But also you have a player like Caps that could just channel his inner Danish blood and be like, I am Froggen now. I'll play Anivia like every other Danish mid laner before me, you know? So it's like, it definitely depends on the players, depends on the circumstance, depends on the state of mind. And I think that part is a crucial aspect of it, because they locked in the Shen. It was a very brilliant lock-in, in my opinion.
Yeah,
makes sense. Very interesting. I checked up like the analytics stats. It doesn't perform so well in solo queue, but with like Camille, and then it's like of course the W to deny the damage of the enemy. It made sense. But then when I saw some of these ease flashes, you know, like it was obvious Tarzan has played this champ for like 6 years or some shit. And this was like a spontaneous idea. So it's like finding the balance between genius and just stupidity is definitely like a dance that they need to pull off all the time. But I hope that the viewers understand the nuance of everything that goes down behind, because sometimes it's very, very hard to navigate data. So I did this interview with Mowgli, right, when I was co-streaming Worlds at the venue. So Mowgli, they just won against FlyQuest. Mowgli came over. And I said, how are you preparing for the rest of the tournament? And he said, we scrim, we practice what we think is good, and then we pray. I was like, you pray? He's like, yeah, we're going to hope that what we practice is going to be the best. And if it's not, that's what it is. And this comes from a guy that won Worlds with DRX. You know, it's just, sometimes you got to trust your practice, your preparation, and sometimes you don't have the players that have the capacity to pivot. Those players are very, very rare.
No, that is the last detail. Is look, if people don't know, Dylan Falco already had a great rep in the draft from, like, you know, Schalke and teams that weren't all the best. But the point is, the reason he's unbeatable now is, like you said there, he also then has like, oh, and I also have Caps, by the way, who just plays like 7 extra things that aren't even meta, and he might look. I'm going to say this: I don't even think he plays Anivia right now. I think he just thought, you know what, fucking, I'll play it here. I'll play it on this angle. And the difference is, there are some stars that even if they tell you that, I'll play our first time, you're like, no, you will not. Listen, thanks for the offer, but actually I think we're just going to go with the not as good pick. But mate, that makes the draft extra spicy, of course, extra. Here's the obvious angle, though. This is where we get into the fun. That was the past and the recent present. Obviously now there are 3 teams remaining in the LPL. Anyone's Legend in the final, and then the lower bracket is JDG and TS. Now, what's spicy about this, Yamato, is I don't know anyone who's predicting any of these teams to be the champion of the LPL. Like, I actually think right now, there's no obvious winner. So the real question, we did it for LTA. Who are we taking here? Who do you think will win the LPL? What's your prediction?
Oh, shit. It's, this one is difficult. Like, this one is very, very hard. I want to say, I feel like top esports to me has the right balance of everything that I think is important. I think they have showcased the individual skill to beat the Billy, which I think is a tough task to overcome. And they are set up for success in terms of how they set up their drafts. And I feel like that's like the good balance. Because right now I think JDG are performing the best individually. Anyone's Legends the best prep, but I feel like top esports is just like balanced across the board. And I think the fact that they went through so much resistance to get there, like they are playing their 5th best of 5, like their 5th best of 5 if they make it to the finals. That is a lot of resistance. They went through IG, NIP, Billy, and now, of course, JDG. I put a lot of stock and value into that. And now it seems like they've overcome like this jitters. I buy into that momentum. 369 seems to be back. Jakob seems to be back. Cream, insane. I'm thinking top esports is going to go all the way.
I was hoping you'd pick another one because I'm going to take top esports.
Shit.
I mean, first of all, I have always actually, it's funny, this is one of those players I did change on over the years. When he was in IG, I always thought Jakob was overrated. He actually was kind of like an inter, and by the way, he just had the best solo lanes maybe ever in the fucking peak. So I always thought he actually got overrated when he was like a world champion there. But ever since he came to JDG, top esports rather, I thought actually year on year he's gotten better and better and better. And actually, sadly, last year he had like a few, it's just internationally, he had a few sort of down moments. Aside from that, he's a fucking fabulous player. So I also think he'd be a very worthy champion this time without a Knight, without a rookie, without those massive names that like shadow over you. In many ways, if he wins now, he could be the best player on the team. Like that would be fucking sick. And also, if I look at the 3 teams, anyone's Legend has the draft and the romance of the Tarbay story. But I'm with you, mate. If you go and look, bro, they even took the NIP, which turned out to, in the end, just be Doinby the MVP and a bunch of frauds. Like, by the way, thank you, Doinby, for actually showing the world what Aki and Shanji are really like, bro. I was wondering, I don't know who the fuck that Aki was in the previous series. That guy, I've never seen him before. I watched all those fucking rookies. He was never there. That was some old school shit. So, that was 5 games too, mate. Like, it's really hard work for anyone's edge to win these BO5. So, that's just a romance. So I don't think they win personally, even though they're coming from upper bracket. JDG, I actually think it's like you said in the breakdown. I think they have the players to do it, mate. I think you've got the super duper player and scout. Pays actually sort of, it seems like, finds his angles to carry at the moment. They have some really good fucking players. I could see them winning, but again, CV Max has to not get in the way and fucking be the secret saboteur agent of the opposition in the draft, doesn't he? So in Fearless draft, probably not the one for me. So the reason I'm going with top esports, I feel like they've just got the best all-around quality. They've got really good players. They've got mega carry players, by the way, especially now that we know Cream actually performs. Actually, even though I agree with you, they've had some shaky games. Believe it or not, even though these players are known as Inters and Choker, they have some fucking clutch gene in them, actually. They're doing some really great comebacks, wins in decisive games. So, yeah, I'm going to take top esports as well. And also, I think it would just be fitting that Om wins another championship, but with like a totally different set of players as well. Because he's someone else who just does deserve, like, he has to be up there with Korma. I don't even know who else at this point in time is like the greatest coaches of all time. Like they're in that category. The body of work is undeniable. They've just done too much at this point. So yeah, I'm going to take top esports as well.
Cool. I think it's so cool. I think it's so cool when somebody takes time off and comes back. Like Omer was just off for 1 year and then comes back, reunites with Kanavi. It's like, Kanavi, you missed me, huh? I saw you suffering last year. And then he just does this shit. I think like Coach Kim is another one, like with the great record, but with GenG now, it's like, ooh. Anything else on LPL? We jump to LCK.
The thing is, there was more matches in the LPL because there's been so many played, but I feel like we hit the
That's
big
true, yeah.
storylines on those ones, you know. Like, all right, you know what? I tell you what, as fan service, we'll do 5 minutes where we just like get ready. Right, what we're going to do, Yamato, is like in the old-fashioned days in my country, because we fucked up and we did actually something that was socially offensive. They're going to put us in what's called the stocks. You know, those wooden things where your arms go in and your head sticks through, and you have to stay there for the whole day, and people just throw rotten tomatoes in your face. Right, this is us in the stocks. Right, you ready? Rookie was the worst player on IG. He was a fucking bomb. And the worst thing is, actually, some of his teammates even looked pretty good at times. And he didn't even give them a chance. And you know what? All those years when it was his jungler hitting him, and I used to go, who the fuck are these junglers? His jungler was really good, mate. Like, I have to say, this is the one time where I'll totally give it up. Rookie kind of sucked in that series, bro.
He did, man. Jesus, I think it's
It's true. You know?
I think it's over. I think it's over, bro.
Oh, he's calling it over already. He's calling it the whole career's over.
I think it's over, bro. The rookie going to Worlds, finally getting some games against Faker, maybe, you know, that just seems so dead to me now because I don't know, like this seemed like such a great last Electric Boogaloo. You know, I thought that Gala played like good that series.
Yeah,
like Gala played solid. I think that JJ had good moments. I think that Make with the shy rookie, I think it's arguable like the levels of washed that they're all at. But considering where I was hoping rookie would land, I do think that he deserves the most flack and the biggest tomato in my head for. You know, in terms, I just keep bringing this up. It's just the position I was in looking at NIP coming into this. I thought Doinby is coming back to just suffer because he was inheriting, you know, everything that rookie suffered through last year.
He was suffering in the last series, but you're right, before that, he was cooking, yeah.
But he came back, got an MVP, got his name out, really popped off on his rise, shaped the meta a little bit, you know. I feel like for Doinby, this was definitely like a win. But I can't keep bringing up rookie spring split of last year anymore. I can't do that. It's like him almost qualifying the team to Worlds. I can't bring that up anymore because this is just such a massive stain. It's like it brings me back even to when Jackie Love was together with rookie, even in that qualifying series to the World Championship, because 2023, Jackie Love was legit like one of the best 80s in the world that just didn't go to Worlds. And even that series, I remember Rookie's Azir as it was yesterday, and it was also like super disappointing. So even though probably when the dust settles and the new split starts, my delusions will begin again because I allow myself to be emotionally invested into Rookie. Now with rationality, he is washed.
Right, this is the one area we'll disagree there, because here's the thing, Yamato. Here's my actual secret. You know, like the Hulk in fucking the Avengers, where his secret is he's always angry. The secret is, Yamato, I'm always emotional. I don't always give it off. I sometimes seem like I'm just like angry at the world. That's where it comes from. That's that fire. So here's the problem. Even though I totally acknowledge he actually did suck in that particular series. And by the way, he didn't have a very good split in general. Even in the group stage, he wasn't really on. Actually, there's other parts of the team certainly had problems, but he never got it good. Shy was bad at the beginning, but he wasn't even that bad by the end, by the way. I actually did think like Rookie had this is probably the worst split of his entire LPL career, in my opinion. I've seen them all. I've seen times where just his team was really bad or the meta wasn't that great. The problem is there's two factors here. One, I do think, actually, believe it or not, for whatever reason, Fearless didn't suit him at all, mate. Like, this is the guy where if you have like the 3 to 4 meta champions, he's always going to be good on 2 or 3 of them, and he's just going to cook on that. And by the way, he can play both sides of the matchups. He's super famous for that, going back in history. He wasn't just a mage player, but he's amazing on the mages. Then he'd be sick on like the fucking AD champions, etc. Fearless hasn't suited him for whatever reason. So first of all, right, there we go. The lungs are getting cleared out. Right, so next split isn't Fearless. So already, there you go.
I'm buying into this, bro. Give me some of that.
Okay. Then the second reason is in the next split, well, now he's had the failure, right? And when you have the failure in the past, I'm sure he could do the copium we did. It's like, oh, it was my teammates. I'm fine. It's my team. Great. He has to look in the mirror and go, I'm not even looking at, forget like I'm not fucking Carrier. I'm not rookie of last year. So the question is, keep looking in that mirror and find the rookie of last year. I want you to look real deep inside the guy looking in the mirror. That perfectly spherical, childlike face That taps into that eternal fountain of youth that is the spirit to be a great League of Legends mid laner. Because by the way, mid lane in League of Legends, even though Chovy's made it some sort of like boring economic fucking wankery of like, I'm getting the GDP's gone up 4.6 CS per lane in a 2.4 region. That means that the economic policies are working of my Kenzie. No, mid lane is about the childlike innocence, the joy of play. It's the creation. It's because here's the thing, League, I'm a Froggen fan. I know League hasn't just been about pure laning. It's about what you do when you get the lane advantage to transfer it to the team, to transfer it to the map, to create that pressure. So when he finds that rookie inside himself again, then he will be ready to become rookie again. And when he does that, like when Superman gets really injured and he's really close to death, and you're like, oh, it's the end for Superman. No, he just retreats. He goes back to that Fortress of Solitude. He finds like some Kryptonian crystal that his father gave. He's like, Father, please, one more chance to save humanity. And he gets he flies up into the sun and lets the fucking solar power recharge his cells and make his fucking go to the next level. Then he comes back, because he always comes back. It's Superman, bro. It's rookie. He always comes back. If there's one thing I know, my dad's not coming back from that fucking petrol station when he went out for cigarettes. Rookie always comes back. He's not going to let me go like that. He's going to be there for my graduation. He's going to be at my soccer games. He's going to tell me that he's really actually pleased and not at all disappointed in me for still believing in rookie in spring split 2. They've fucked up the whole naming system if you don't know, guys, in the LPL. Split 2, the shittest name ever. The split 2 of the LPL. Rookie will be back. Are you ready? He will be the 3rd best mid laner. And IG, let me get out. We'll be in the semi-finals of the LPL.
I'm bought in.
I'm a true believer, mate. I'm a true believer. You have to understand. I go to the fucking. You have to understand, Yamato. This is a rough analogy, but I'm just going to say it. I'd be there with Rookie in the bunker taking the cyanide pills. Like, well, you know what? If I had to go down like this, I had to go down like this. Rookie. I guess we're all dying. See you, mate. Like, fuck. They're already circling. The tax are coming. You know what? Like, yeah, it was a good ride. We'll always remember season 8, season 9, and shit, we didn't get more worlds, isn't it? Anyway, fuck. Who would we even blame for that? Fuck Shanji. I'm done at that point. So you have to understand, essentially, I'm going to finish my rant by saying this, Yamato. It's not over as long as Rookie's breathing, right? I've actually just tied in what I think is the shittest world song of all time there, but whatever.
Well, I love that every solution is like, the whole Thorin Fnatic coaching arc, bro. I'm just thinking you install mirrors everywhere, It's like, bro, you need to look into the mirror and tell yourself your shit. You need to find yourself in the mirror, look at yourself. It's like, that is just the solution is in your own perception of yourself.
It is.
Which is very poetic. I like it.
See, what you don't know is this. I wouldn't have tried to like pull up a fucking whiteboard and show Hillsong like engage angles and understanding of warding things and what pressure, what threat zones are there. Me and him would be in like fucking we'd be in the Arizona desert in a teepee taking fucking mescaline, mate, and we'd be meeting the ancestors, and they'd explain to him why you don't always have to go in. Like they'd tell him, like young brother, you have to pull back sometimes. This is not wisdom. The path of the wise man is to be himself, but to know when to stay within himself. They'd be like, oh, yes, ancestors, whatever. I don't know why the Bulgarian ancestors are speaking through in Indian. But listen, that's just, I'm trying to paint a picture for you here. So, yeah, that's what we'd be doing. And the joke here, obviously, would be, like, I could now make, using CV Max's drafting system, the shittest AI of all time, CV Max GPT. You just put in, like, what should I draft? It just tells you all the wrong picks. It's like, well, there you go. Right, fuck. We've ruined the whole thing. No, we'll never win. All right, it's cool. We've got an AI for that shit.
Well, actually, would just fucking burst the AI bubble. The markets would come crashing down, bro.
Everyone would pull the investments out and all the stocks and crash. Exactly, I know. That's one thing. Look, without going too far forward, let's make a serious point about it. That's actually where, even though I wasn't personally a fan of Fearless Draft, and I do think there's a reason why there's been a million game 5s, is I don't think any team can actually get 5 games of comps that they can play. I think it's almost impossible at this point in time. In fact, I even did notice, I do believe that the really clever coaches, in the end, opted sometimes more towards, I'm going to fuck up your draft more than get the best pick for myself. We didn't just do the obvious, I take this and then you take that, which means I take this, which is what normal drafting is like. But here's the one thing it has hyped me for, Yamato. It means in the next split, when there's no fearless in any of these regions, well, especially the LPL and the LCK are going to get really interesting because there's teams that finished like 5th or 4th, etc. in these leagues. They might just be like challenging for the title again when we go back to a normal meta where you play like 4 champions mid lane. Like, that's another thing. It's going to be really fun next season to see what people play like in a normal meta mid.
No, I'm with you. Especially like with the rumored changes to like lane swaps being gone. I feel like we're gonna come into it very, very refreshed. And I think that part of it definitely, like, Fearless has succeeded in making, you know, players and teams be challenged in a very, very different way. But it does put an asterisk on it. I made this tweet where I did something we can discuss because I'm curious about your take too. Is like in my mind, the golden road, right? It's like in my mind, especially since it's something that is just so inspired by, of course, like traditional sports.
Oh, sure.
It's like adding tournaments to it doesn't make sense to me.
No,
it's
it makes
like,
it too hard. Yeah, I'm with you.
In my mind, it's like if you win your regional, you win MSI, and you win Worlds, like that to me is what the classic golden rule and the point of comparison should be. Like if we are adding like EWC, like
I know what you mean. What we should do is we should just.
Like, what are we doing?
I'm with you. We should probably just rename it like the Triple Crown. And as you say, it's you win the split that qualifies for Worlds, you win MSI, and you win Worlds. Then you did the Golden Road. Because you're right, mate. People couldn't do it when there was 4 tournaments. There's no way anyone could do it now. And by the way, then you're going to throw in first a split of Fearless, hardcore Fearless, and the fucking first stand. Like no one could win that. I think that is literally impossible in League because with the meta changes too much, man. I don't think you can ever be the best. By the way, the same thing pretty much if you don't know, if people don't follow, has happened in Dota 2. In Dota 2, it has basically never been the case that someone just swept the whole season and was the best there always. Because what happens is the meta switches so radically that if you're like the best for the first 8 months, get ready for that fucking TI. It's going to be really bad. Or meanwhile, the other way around, you can be the guy who like is 3rd for the first 8 months, and then you hit your meta and TI and you win it. So I think in League, it's too hard to do the whole thing. I'm with you. I think we've made it impossible now. It's impossible.
No, for sure. And speaking of things that are impossible or even possible, imagine the things you could do if you, of course, got yourself a subscription to ExpressVPN. Unlock your internet. Stop ISP logging. How did you choose which internet service provider to use? The sad thing is most of us have very little choice. Very, very little choice. You live in a certain location and then it's like, oh, you just take whatever's best. And they just have a full monopoly on what they're doing and they can just see all your information. ISPs, they operate, of course, like monopolies in the regions that they serve. They kind of work together. It's like, oh, we're going to take care of this area. You're going to get that area. And then they shake hands and then, they get to do pretty much whatever they want. They then, of course, use this monopoly power to take advantage of customers, like I just mentioned, data caps, bandwidth throttling, the list goes on. But worst of all, ISPs have the ability to keep a log of every website you visit, and so can a ton of other third parties, unless, as mentioned, you use VPN. It hides your IP address. Very, very easy to use. You just fire up the application, boom, you can choose any location in the world. You can go to Sweden, you can go to North Macedonia, you can go to Korea. You can unlock all the content out there for yourself and make sure that none of your data, of course, is tracked. Works on all devices. It's super, super easy to get it installed on other devices. You don't even need to log in. It's like if you have an ExpressVPN subscription, you get a code. You just put in the code, and then it is just hides itself to whatever device you have, your phone, whatever, and then boom, you're good to go. It's just a one button press. Rock and roll, you're in it to win it. Without ExpressVPN, of course, I mentioned before, these third parties can just see everything that you do. And with the world changing, with laws changing everywhere, it's like you don't know how this information will ever be used against you. I mentioned the ISP, the internet service provider, your mobile network provider even, or even the admin of your Wi-Fi network. It's like if you're at school, if you're, at your job, if you're at an airport, all that data, especially as your life becomes more and more digital, letting someone have access to that can be, of course, very dangerous. Online banking, maybe your crypto, maybe your passwords, maybe your email. There's a lot of sensitive information that is out there in the cloud, so it's very important that, of course, you protect yourself. So, protect your online privacy today by visiting expressvpn.com/summoning. That is, of course, expressvpn.com/summoning. And you can get an extra 4 months free expressvpn.com/summoning. Thank you, ExpressVPN, for keeping us safe and also, of course, supporting Summoning Inside.
Yeah, by the way, that is actually the literal browser that when Monty hosted the show when he was in Korea, he used to actually use, not least because famously in Korea, they don't let you save a Twitch VOD if you have a Korean IP. So he essentially would use it for a different region. It would save the Twitch VOD. And then also, I've actually used that VPN many times myself before. It's very, very, very easy to use. That's probably the easiest of all the VPNs. There's no like technical bells and whistles you have to know and understand. It's like, it's literally a massive red button and you change the region. It's one of the easiest ever to use. And it's pretty quick to connect also. I've had VPNs where they take like a whole minute to fucking connect to the thing, and it's a nightmare. It's, by the way, if you're a streamer and you're trying to like switch between that shit while you're still at the bloody stream live, you're so scared it's gonna make Twitch go down and then you have to start the next VOD and all that crap. So yeah, it's very good, and obviously you get all those extra months.
Something that I can add too. So the way I use ExpressVPN is just I really like the feature that I can choose which windows use it. So
right.
I have one browser that is just VPN, and it's like my stream is just going through the regular connection. And being able to like separate things is like super smooth. I really like I was looking for something specifically that did that. So I've been using ExpressVPN for like I'm like 3 years in now. Like I've used ExpressVPN for forever.
I actually wasn't even aware that was a thing. I need to use that.
It's sick. It's sick, man.
I'm learning. Right.
There we go.
I think what we do now is, I think we just do LCK.
Let's go for it.
With LCK, we're mainly just talking about the final. Come on. It's mainly the final that's the one. Because, bro, this is one of those ones where people don't understand. If you're an analyst, you actually can't overreact to a small sample size, because whatever made you make your analysis before is usually based on like more than just a match. It's usually based on like who the player is, who the team is, what their general thing. It's the reason why, to speak earlier, no, I don't know anyone who's actually legit who did overreact to that Thunder Talk one. I'm pretty sure everyone still thought BLG would beat them again, and also that Thunder Talk wouldn't be in the bloody final, win the LPL. No, only like a casual fan thought that because they were hyped with the romance of the win, right? So one of the problems that Hanwha Life has had is every single second until they won the final, I didn't think they were going to win the final, the Yamato, because I kept thinking, if anything, it's the other way around. They're barely getting through these series, and they're getting through series where sometimes it's almost like they expose one of their own members each series in Fearless, and you're like, bro, what? And also, even though on paper they should have been the best team, you know, right out the gate, they never were. They sort of worked up into it, and actually they aren't, like, even though on paper they're a super team, they don't play like a super team. They're not the team that's just like dusting you off all over the place. In fact, the joke I thought, when both times they played GenG, is sometimes GenG would be the hands team who was actually just smashing them, etc. So the thing is, when you were watching it, it was easy to go, they're sort of fluking it. They're getting by with a bit of luck here, you know. Now that they've done it this many times, you can't fluke it this many times, mate. Like, when they've done it this many times, they're actually just clutch. I actually wrote a piece on my Substack about Zika. If people don't know, he's won his last 9 game 5s. Now, look, what's funny is the final wasn't that crazy a game 5. He kind of got carried in that one. In all the other ones, though, he is sick. And the reason why I surmise is, it's not even that he's the best mid laner. He clearly isn't, bro. But I'll tell you what, he is so fucking decisive when other people get scared that it's crazy, mate. When other people are sort of, ooh, do I go? This guy just sends it. He just fucking, right, go button, boom. He's in. He just fucking goes for it. And I'll tell you what, when you do that, it's like in the UFC, if you're someone who just throws like wild haymakers, you could get knocked the fuck out. But you might even just knock out the best fighter, mate. You might just land one on the button. Good night. This guy fucking, in that way, bear in mind, this is his 3rd championship. Bro, every single championship, in theory, you might have argued he was an underdog. T1, he was never supposed to win that one. It was going to be the GenG Golden Road. No one could ever beat them. You could barely beat them in a BO3 at that time, mate. No one was ever going to beat that team. And then this one now, mate, GenG's played them already. They've seen them in Fearless Draft. They've been all the way. By the way, Chovy was awesome in the odd game at times. Like, if anything, now's the time when it's like, well, you know, really good split by Hanwha Life. You got it together at the end. Congrats on 2nd place. Come back in the normal meta. Let's see if you can beat GenG. No, they actually were the better team. And then last thing I'll just throw in is, we could do a whole thing on this separately, but I'll seed it now. It is the obvious narrative. Oh, baby, does that off-season look fucking chef's kiss now. I told everyone, mate, Zeus is built different. He's not just a top laner. He brings so many things to what he brings as a top laner that are just like intangibles that you don't see like directly on a stats page, you know. So thoughts on Hanwha Life actually being, they might be the best team in the world, mate. They actually might be the best team in League of Legends. Thoughts?
I agree. I think it's with how shook the LPL is and how in the air everything is. It's just how life checked all the marks. I think what's so insane is that like usually when it comes to like super roster, this is a fucking super roster, is that they don't work, and there's some like sense of they don't work because it's like they are not on the same page, they have different ideas, very very stubborn in the way they approach the game. Is who's going to function in an environment that is a little bit different? Like that's always like the question mark in the back of everyone's mind. Obviously if players are this damn good, usually it doesn't matter, but this is the romantic version of a super team. It's like we had games where Viper was like heavily underperforming. In a lot of these series, Peanut was heavily underperforming. But people were just always picking up the slack. It's like you can get away with that on this team. There was like that one Viper game where he played Ezreal, where I don't know what the hell was going in his mind. And in the past, if Viper did that in the series, you just knew it was over because he needed to have like a certain bar. I think the comparison is, for example, today, Bin had an off series and Billy out, lose against top esports. He's not allowed to have an off series on this team with Way on that team and with On's form. He's not allowed to. Viper is allowed to. Peanut is allowed to. And how alive now is like there were games where there was like individual like underperformances, but all the time, like the ramp up of the players that were underperforming. The Light, Zeka, they started off slow, but then argument is very, very clear for them being like the best performing in their position at the end of it all. And then the final part is just Zeus. I'm very sad that Bin is underperforming because it kind of kills the conversation in a very, very hard way in regards to Bin versus Zeus and how they're building their career. Like Zeus moving on from T1 and winning a split and going to another international and then doing it in the fashion that he did, always being like the super, super ace in all of these game fives. It's like his Olaf lock-in, and then his Gwen lock-in. That's just phenomenal. It's like there's nothing you can ask for more from a top laner, especially looking at the last year in terms of how they won Worlds. That was such a different look for Zeus in terms of being the one that just plays Gragas and gets like beaten under the turret and like outplays the dives and is a player that is capable of just reading the map. I think in terms of how he manages his economy, never dying on side lane anymore, because that was like a big issue for T1 is that jungle and support, they were never good at setting up their solo lane of success. But now he's playing with Delight and Peanut. They are masters of this. That is the main thing in terms of last year, in terms of how they beat GenG in that finals, was making sure Zeka can always posture and trade aggressively onto Chovy, because Chovy wasn't getting that backup from Canyon and Lehens. And now Zeus has that. He has that information, is executing really, really well. And from the standpoint of T1, I don't know what your take was on that offseason, because I don't believe we ever had that conversation. Because in my mind,
you didn't come on the show yet. Yeah, true.
It's like in my mind, I want to know what you thought about how the offseason played out. It's like hindsight. In my mind, if I looked at all the details, I always thought that Zeus just wanted to leave T1 and they leveraged the offer of T1 to get a better How Life offer. Because there was like many details about like them waiting, and then it's like in the end, it just seemed like Zeus was sick and tired of being T1. What was your take on the whole offseason in terms of what it went down?
I don't go quite that far. I think it was a mix of the two, though. Like, I do think, first of all, that essentially he was sick of being one of the fucking Jackson 5 who isn't Michael Jackson. Because here's the saddest thing. If you actually watch the whole time he was there with Faker, he's been a much better individual player than Faker was. Like I've always said in T1, the two players I think you could never let go is Keria for what he brings to the game and to his ADC, and Zeus is a laner, mate. He was the god, as you said. He's even developed over the years from like carry laner to like, he can be the weak side pressure sponge. And now I agree with you. He used to always have those one playoff games where he'd just go and fucking die a million times on the side. Now he doesn't do that. He's actually sort of shored up all of his holes. So to me, and then also he was the draft sponge. He could literally help Faker avoid a matchup that normally would have to go mid and get fucked by the counter pick. He could just take that pick from him and go, you know what, I'll play that fucking AD champion or something. It's like, what? Like, I thought his value was crazy. And the problem I have is this. One of the things T1 fans really overlooked about the offseason, if you listen to what even T1's telling you, is they were telling you when they were trying to like drop all the secrets about Zeus to make him look bad. Stuff like, well, we'd already got like everyone else, all the OFGK players were signed because we already had Faker, and then we got Keria and Gumayushi to sign an owner, and then already signed. Like, here's what people don't take into account of that. That means they didn't have a crazy negotiation. That means those players were like, okay, so the premise is it's a group project. We're sort of coming back because it's all of us again. Let's run it back, which has historical value, and you've got emotional, romantic reasons to do that. And also, at that time, you can, believe it or not, one of the things about Korean orgs I think people don't really understand from the outside is, if you're a player like those players where they found you, they developed you, they put you in the roster over other starters, and eventually you became their player, they do sort of think very differently to Westerners, where we have all this free agent culture in football and American sports, where it's like, look, once you're a free agent, it's up to you. Test the market, bro. If you get a better offer, take the bag. Who can blame you? You have to do what's right for your career, bro. That's what we all say in the West. That is not the Korean way at all. The Korean way is like, by default, unless we don't want you, basically, you should be loyal to us. And also, since we made you, what are you talking about market value? Like, we should sort of still get some extra, like, we should almost get a discount, mate, because we made you. So I think the others did sign for a discount, mate. I don't think people like fucking Kerrier and Dona actually tested what their market value is, because I'll tell you right now, I'm pretty sure those two players specifically would get crazy LPL offers. Orna, bro. Do you know how many mid laners would be like, give me that guy. This fucking will just play 2 men all game long. You know how many fucking... Think about how weak the support pool can be sometimes in LPL. Kerry would get like fucking, he'd get the max contract, mate. Whatever you can pay, $2 million, $3 million, he'd get that a year. So if people don't know, Faker does make millions a year. In fact, they almost, if you look at how the LCK salary cap was designed, it was basically designed almost with like, not phrased this way, a sort of rule of like, and of course we'll grandfather any big contract. That's just saying T won't get to keep Faker, so he can still get $5 million a year instead of like having to cut his salary in half, because that's what you'd have to do in the modern salary cap to build a squad. So the real problem here is this. If I'm Zeus, yes, you know what? Faker's the one who shot called it all. Faker's the brains of it. Faker's the captain. But I'll tell you what, the brains without the brawn, that's nothing, mate. You can have the smartest player in the world with the best shot calling, and if you don't have the tip of the spear, you don't have the knockout punch, you don't have the force in the game, you won't get it done. So as a result, I actually think they, not only did they miscalculate, that Zeus, especially once they signed all the others, became the craziest, most eligible free agent in the whole world. Like, as you saw, it eventually leaked out. A lot of people didn't notice this. It was like a week or a few days after the initial reports about Hanwha Life. Supposedly, behind the scenes, they were also communicating with the LPL. He could have been in JDG, or he could have been in like fucking Top Esports, or what I think, or IG, one of these teams, right? There was supposedly like, so it sounds to me like T1 just weren't ever going to pay him whatever he gets at Hanwha Life now, mate. I think they were just going to be like, look, here's the offer. Stay. If you don't, by the way, it's almost implied. I don't think they said it over. It's almost implied, look, you will get hated on by all the fans. Like, you'll have broken up ZOFGK. Like, we've already got all the others signed, mate. It's all ready to go back with the world champions. To leave in that scenario will always look bad to fans. And in fact, even some people who aren't experts will just think, have you blown it? You just left the world champions. So I think what he did was, put it this way, I just think from Koreans, I've seen very rarely that I do think Koreans believe in loyalty. So I think if you'd have come to him and said, look, we'll just pay you millions. Here's the biggest contract in the world. Stay on T1. I think he would have said yes, and he would have signed at least for 1 more year or something. Remember, they were even offering like 1 year. I think his initial thing was I just want a 2 year contract. I think if he'd have done that, he'd have stayed. But once you made it clear, like, we're going to sort of use every trick that's not the dollar amount on the piece of paper to get you to sign. I think I'm with you, Yamato. I think he cleverly said nothing publicly, but I think he went to his agents like, fucking work with these motherfuckers. Take that offer. By the way, I'll just say this. I think that's what Reckless did that second time he left Fnatic. He told Fnatic, I will stay. And he supposedly told like fucking Dardo, like there's a 95% chance I will stay. And then he said, but I just want to test the market to know what my value is. And then the joke goes, he found the 5% way to leave, which means he just went to G2 and the other squads. He was like, can I have more than this number? And they were like, yeah. And he was like, oh, sorry, guys. You know, it's out of my hands. I found the way to leave. I've got to go. I think basically, like in this scenario, he went and tested it out. And then it was a double whammy. One, on paper, and this is what the T1 fans missed. Not only do I think Hanwha Life, people don't know this, Hanwha Life has the most money as far as I know. T1 has loads of money because they have fakers. So you can justify it with the sponsors, with the head person at the top of the org. Hanwha Life, the reason why they keep getting GenG players who are really good is because they'll be like, you know what, join our team. We're pretty good and we'll pay more. So people are like, fuck, this is great. You not only get paid megabucks if you join GenG, but also, this is the part the T1 fans missed, and T1. Your team might be better than Hanwha. It's debatable if you have Zeus. If he leaves, Hanwha's now better than T1. So I get more money. I'll also get actually my credit. By the way, he absolutely got his credit for this run now. No one was going to give Faker Player of the Year again. No one's saying that, mate. No one's saying, no, not even celebrating Zika that much. We're just saying, Zeus, it was you, mate. And also you get a banger roster. You actually have what on paper. The difference is the GenG super team Yamato is like, that's the romance of the hands all working all at once. It doesn't always work. The Hanwha Life one is like, you've got really good players, but it's such a great mix of younger players and older players, experienced players and less experienced players, carry players, supportive players, brain players, hands players. The actual combo is just fucking, it's amazing. And it hasn't worked to its even peak yet, in my opinion. They've just won the fucking LCK. Like, I actually think this team also could be fucking amazing in a normal draft. Tell you what, if you get Poppy and fucking the Rakan back onto Peanut and Delight, they're going to have great games too, mate. We all know what these guys can do. So I actually think it was a bit of both. I can see where you're going on that angle. I definitely don't think it was any of the shit. Because remember, we were hearing it all from T1 of like, yeah, remember the worst, the when I knew they were clutching at straws, Yamato, is when they started going like, and we had to save him before his agent almost sold him to the LPL years ago. And they made it sound like Zeus was tied up in a fucking broom closet somewhere. And his agent was just going like, hello? Yes, this is Zeus. Sorry, I've got a cold right now, so my voice sounds different. Yeah, no, I very much want to join Hanwha Life. They'll make it sound that. I don't believe it, mate. I think actually he was open to leaving, especially when he got this banger offer. By the way, if you actually think like I do, maybe he felt mistreated by T1. It's also kind of funny to just fuck him on the way out the door and go ahead and enjoy Thorin, dickhead. Lol. Wait a minute, is Keen still in the... Lol, enjoy Thorin. Tell you what, and by the way, Thorin wasn't even the worst thing about the fucking T1, which is the hilarious part. So that's my take on that one. And by the way, I'm with Dom and you guys. If you now want to say Zeus is the best top player of all time, I think it's a totally valid argument.
Agreed. No, it's like I think for fans, especially in that offseason leading to the third, it's like after winning the World Championship, it was even dramatic in terms of how he signed to T1 then. There was the whole story came out that Koma had to like go over to him and convince him to stay another one. And I think often fans, they get the sanitized version of it. It's like they get the entertainment version of it. They don't get to see the frustration, the pain, the pressure they're under. Yeah. There's no other position to be in. Like the most pressure-filled position is to be on T1. It's like looking at now, looking at it from a completely like normal point of view, rational point of view. It's like putting in Smash was a success. Gumayushi's reaction to it is that he's practicing hard. It's very clear that he's spamming solo queue. It's like that's good and rational. But even now, Smash, who has done nothing, gets hated on. It's just the pressure that you take upon in terms of being on that team, like just to be a fly on the wall, not only when they are successful, that roster, but also when they were in their downturn. You would see like a rawness, because obviously these players want to win more than anything. They want to win more than anything. That's why they're there. And also the culture of pressure that is in Korea, like the story of how owner even joined the team or how anyone even got to the position they're in. It's like it's a whole different thing altogether. It's like this is peak competition. There's no work-life balance. These guys are working themselves to the bone. And to imagine that everything was nice and dandy because they win World Champions at the end of the year, probably those years, like I think they were like flirting with extreme burnout at all times, and we could see that in their gameplay. Sometimes it was crazy. Sometimes they had like before Worlds they had to fly out to, let's say, like Hong Kong to do like a meet and greet. Sure. There was a whole like the whole thing with Faker being like Hall of Legends induced, and then there was like the Hall of Legends, and he had to do event after event while playing.
And then Red Bull events, everything.
Yeah, Red Bull events too. It's like this is just the most busiest position you can be in, and to want to walk away from that is something that like makes sense to me. And the biggest mistake is from T1 side is to take things for granted. Like I can imagine from their side too. It's like the loss in terms of being able to sell the brand. I can imagine that's just like in the tens of millions in terms of like the merchandise and whatever. By the way,
is why I actually think they fucked up not paying Zeus. Like it actually would have even made sense. You're right. That potentially you like essentially what you did is in the short term you saved money and then you possibly entered your whole strategy.
Because also, like, my biggest concern, like, I'm just speculating here, is if it was promised to the other players that signed that they're going to sell this merch, there's going to be a percentage cut, there's going to be this thing to keep the story going, because that's what, for me, it seems too irrational to have let him go due to money things in that moment in time. That's why I'm thinking that Zeus just wanted to leave and he leveraged the offer as hard as he could to get a big like payout on How Life. Because if you let that go and it was money decided when you're going to lose fucking tens of millions because like the whole the story is there, that's a tough point to rebuild from, because I think I can imagine that in terms of how the finances were planned out for the next year, had that in mind. You mentioned How Life is like, bro, this is they are owned by one of the biggest like Korean families in terms of business. It's like how the Hanwha group, they are billionaires, you know, like they have their hand in everything. They are weapon manufacturers. They sell insurance. Like they have endless money if it comes down to it. And now it's like this is money well spent. It's like this roster is very well put together. And I would end on a note that I think I can go so far to say that Zeus is just the best player in the world right now. It's like in terms of his performance in winter, I don't think anybody like touches him in terms of performance. It's like the usual suspects that would be up there. It's like Chovy was kind of off, like Knight was decent, but it's like Zeus, I don't think there's a conversation about a player that has performed better than him on an individual level.
By the way, there's also a very logical reason, if you think of sports, as to why that ownership of group of Hanwha would be extra motivated to spend a lot of money. First of all, they just won their first championship. They want to capitalize on that. Then they've seen like T1 win worlds. They want to win worlds, bro. They want to have all those things. Like, if you know in sports, the teams that spend the most aggressively usually are actually like the ones in the race to try and become the champions, because you're trying to get the piece that puts you over the top. So I think it's totally logical they did this move. By the way, here's where in English the idiom is, like the other shoe hasn't like dropped yet, or the penny hasn't dropped yet. Here's where people haven't still figured out how bad it could get you if you're a T1 fan. You're already thinking, it wouldn't bloody LCK. No, there's only one Korean team goes to first stand. If he wins an international competition with none of the T1 teammates, you're going to first of all rage. The point is, like, you'll shut down traffic with how many trucks are heading towards that fucking headquarters, bro. Like, it'll be insane at that point. Like, it'll look like Times Square outside that fucking window. The amount of signs and neon things and all the fucking whatever that Korean language is going across the screen. And then also, by the way, right now, they'd be the favourite to do it. They would be the team that probably should win the first stand. And also, I'll just tell you a sick detail, because obviously this doesn't apply to T1 as a team, does it? Zeus, in his entire career, he started playing in 2021, guys, has never finished below fourth in a tournament ever in his career. And by the way, he's played a lot of tournaments. He might have played like fucking 15 tournaments or something, man. Like, this guy, he's like a generational player. And I think people missed that. They thought he was just another. Remember, they've had all the top laners in T1. He's just a good top laner. No, he's something special, mate. And I actually think in the long run, that might be what does change the dynasty of T1 is they could have transitioned Faker out of like mid into support or something, or jungle, or as a coach, and you could have kept a player like this and built around him. Mate, the day Faker leaves, if it's in a year, if it's in 2 years, I don't know what you've got. You've got sort of like, you're in the sort of KTD plus territory where you've got some good players, but how are you going to build around? Can you get a star to come? You've got all these questions you never needed to have. Also, I'll give you a quick anecdote. I saw, by the way, in a different thread when I was doing a video on my stream, that someone raged the fuck out that on those episodes where I told you like the history, essentially like the chronicles of beef of Thorin, of like why I've got the beef with Closer and why I've got the beef with Noah. These people, you can tell they don't know some of the insight. They were getting really mad. Like, why is he doing big tangents like that about something like that when it's not what we're talking about? It's like, one, what do you mean we were talking about? The summoning insight is me and the other person, used to be Monty, and we talk about whatever we're thinking about and thought. There's no like set agenda where I have to talk about that thing. And so you're off topic here. The whole show's off topic. I've been doing fucking 10 plus years of being off topic. I'm probably the best person at being off topic, aren't I? I make off topic the fucking topic until the topic becomes some side shit to get into the off topic. So I'll give you a tangent that you will appreciate, because I know you love your sports anecdotes. So there's actually an angle to the career of Kobe Bryant that a lot of people don't know. I'll probably make a side channel video on this one day, which is this guy was one of those people who famously is competitive in everything. So, for example, there's a very quick story that one time he went to someone's house and they had a ping pong table and they beat him at ping pong, and he refused to let them leave for like 6 hours until he could finally beat them at ping pong, and then he went home and bought a ping pong table. And it's like, what you have to understand about that is he's just got the mindset of like, anytime that things don't go the way I want them to go, I'll just find what edge I have and I'll apply it. And I have to beat everyone. I have to always get something over on everyone. So there's a really cool thing he did in the latter part of his career, the last few years, and then even actually when he retired. And I'm going to tell you this quick story. And it goes like this. Because a player like him, when he had the 5 championships, you're not actually competing anymore against the players in your era. You've got more than them. You've actually been the greater player than them. What you're now competing against is history. So you're competing in the past against Michael Jordan and Kareem, all the players who won the championship. And especially, this is where he's a genius. You're also technically competing against the current best players who one day might themselves have the championships and the MVPs to beat you. So you're going to think, that's the problem, though. You're old now or you're retired. How can you compete against players that have the ball in their hand? They can actually still affect history. He literally, I'm going to tell you right now, I will speculate based on stories that I've read. He actually started using Games of Thrones tactics and psychology to defeat his enemies who could potentially capture the glory that would equal his and match up to him. So there's 2 stories that are straight fire. But what he did, like Littlefinger in Game of Thrones, is he befriended people and then he basically gave them advice that on the surface seemed like good advice, but you didn't understand it's him that it served, not you. So the 2 examples are when he was on his way up, one of the teams that first beat him in the playoffs and was clearly going to be the next potential dynasty is, people will forget this, the Oklahoma Thunder used to simultaneously have Kevin Durant, future MVP, Russell Westbrook, future MVP, James Harden, future MVP. They had all 3 players at once, Yamato, and they were a young core, and they all, in theory, you could sort of make them work in the roster. Like James Harden used to come off the bench when one of them went, but they sort of worked. And everyone who, by the way, was from another team, I can tell you back then, was like, fuck, this is like they've made a super team, but from the draft, like, fuck, if we better watch out, because if that team ever gets it together, they even made a finals before James Harden left. Shit, they could just run the NBA for like 10 years. That is like the super team. So supposedly what Kobe did was he befriended Russell Westbrook, and he would just tell Russell Westbrook all the time privately, like, bro, like, why you just give the ball to Kevin Durant all the time? Like, bro, this could be your team. Like, you're better than him. Like, you know what, this is your team, bro. Like, you can run this shit. And all you need to know is James Harden was traded, and then a few years later, Kevin Durant left, right? And then it was just Russell Westbrook's team. By the way, when it was Russell Westbrook's team, he's never came close to winning anything ever in his whole career after that. Kevin Durant went and won a couple with the Warriors, but then he was like some nomadic player that was off. James Harden's also not really come close to winning anything. Just wanted to, he successfully, using Littlefinger tactics, disassembled a super team in his own midst. And then the best one ever is this. People might know a cool story that he mentored Kyrie Irving of the Cavs. And actually, famously, Kyrie Irving gives him credit for why he won the 2016 championship. Like, Kobe told him a bunch of advice about what you do when you take the last shot and how to think about the game. And supposedly, what he did with Kyrie Irving's even better. He took the story of his own career with Shaq, where when they'd win, and Kobe, like Kyrie, could be like, you know, like that step below LeBron. Like, he was like, it wasn't even a sidekick, bro. It was like a 1A, 1B scenario. But every fan in the media was like, congrats to LeBron James. He's the winner of the championship. And his sidekick, Kyrie Irving. And because Kobe had that with Shaq, he knew that fucking, oh, you know what? Part of me wants to go, no, it's a team game. We win as a team, we lose as a team. I'm going to do my part to not get the championship. Don't let the media and the nation. No. He knows that at the end of the day, when you're in the gym fucking 12 hours in that off season working on your shot, part of you is like, oh, it's getting under my skin though. Like, when do I get my credit? When's my time? And supposedly, Kobe was in his ear the whole time, like, you know, of course, if you leave and go to your own team, then you're the man, aren't you? And then when you win, how can they say anything about LeBron? And if you don't know, something like a year or two afterwards, Kyrie Irving did just leave LeBron James, where they could have just kept this team running for years and years. By the way, Kyrie Irving's still sick right now. Like, LeBron still plays. Like, he actually split that duo up again. And spoiler, since then, LeBron has won 1 championship. It's just the one in the bubble, and Kyrie Irving's won 0. So what I'm getting at is this. No one did this with Zeus, but I would actually start using these tactics in the fucking sports. Like, what Perks never understood was this. He was manipulating people to join his team. No, bro. What you need to do is this. When you're like the top team or top 2, and you have a rival that starts to get really, really good, you just need to befriend one of the players and just basically get in his ear and sort of be like, you're just going to give every fucking draft. Does he just get counterpick every game? Aren't you a world-class player? Aren't you all pro? That's what you do. That's what you break them up from inside. You get in the fucking, you're the devil on their shoulder, but in this scenario, you're pretending to be the angel on their shoulder, giving them wonderful advice that can enhance their career. That's what you need to do. Because by the way, my joke would be, if it wasn't for the fact that all Koreans are just like not really like this looks like someone did that to Zeus. It looks like I did get the call with him. I got through to him somehow. Is this Zeus? Yeah, who is this? How you get this number? Listen, don't worry about that. I've got some advice that you need to know. If you stay in that team, you've already won 2 Worlds, bro. They just say it's Faker every time. They even give him Player in Esports of the Year. Also, contract negotiations. Yeah, stick around. Maybe you win another Worlds. Bro, you deserve millions. You know the LPL would pay millions. You know Hannibal Life's on the phone the second you want it. Listen, all I'm saying is, take a meeting, have a cocktail, have a sit-down dinner, have a shrimp cocktail with this guy, have some Wagyu beef, rethink it all, just listen to them with an open mind, Then when I hang up, obviously, I'm like, my commission, the finder fee will be 20%, and he'll be in the restaurant on Wednesday. Make sure you order the shrimp cocktail, right, mate? Someone should do this. This would work even more effectively in esports. I'm telling you, bro. I mean, spoiler, in some ways I have been that person before. I won't say which players, but the ones that were my favourites, I was like, get away from them. They're all giving him the fucking credit. Get out of this fucking team from that guy. Get away from that guy. He's taking all your fucking credit.
Right. I can relate to some circumstances where this has happened, but not not in a 48 laws of power type way, It's more like direct and just opinion, But this is definitely like 48 laws of power at play, Making sure that you say as little as possible and you keep your cards close to your chest, but you gather information, gather data, and push people in certain direction. It reminded me of this. There was this Ultimate Fighter season with Conor McGregor versus Uriah Faber. And Conor McGregor was like, when TJ Dillashaw, basically like one of the fighters, like former fighters that was a part of Uriah Faber's like gym, had left to join like a person that Uriah Faber hated, like Dwayne. And then Conor just called him, he's a snake in the grass. He's a snake in the grass. This motherfucker, he's a snake in the grass. And Uriah Faber didn't even think that it was like something malicious. He was like, oh, he just went to like a different striking coach. And then TJ Dillashaw like won the championship. And then Conor was like, but he stole your credit. He stole your credit, man. And then it's like later how it devolved. It's just festered into like a fight. Like they started hating each other and just festered into a fight. And like back then, it's like the Conor McGregor of old was just a master of like getting into your head. Because I think that's such an important detail is always when you have like these guys that turn into champions. It's like getting into the right state of mind psychologically is an art form. It's like how you painted, how Kobe viewed everything. It's genius. It's like to have such a deep grasp of how many, like you basically create a scenario where more and more people are chasing you, It's like sometimes you have one enemy and everybody knows out there how much that can like motivate you to push more. But if you create enemies everywhere, suddenly you get like this massive push as long as it doesn't overwhelm you. But it can't overwhelm you because you are capable of becoming like a champion. These are the type of people. So bro, I wish I knew how to leverage this when I was competing, bro. It's crazy.
By the way, if people want to know, just a very brief side point as well. I'm not a great student of history itself, but one thing I actually do know is that has actually been Great Britain, the United Kingdom's geopolitical strategy, basically until we had a world empire. The whole strategy was, because we're an island and we're not on mainland Europe, the number one rule in terms of foreign policy for Great Britain was we can never let anyone else control the centre of the European landmass, because then they'll have like control over all the trade and they can get it all across land, etc. Our whole ship was like ships and it goes through and we have the canal, etc. Right? So basically what people don't know is most of the time Great Britain would actually keep switching alliances between countries in Europe, because the whole thing was, we're not really partnered with you. We're just trying to make it like, so are you like below the other guy in the regional hierarchy, right? Well, we'll support you a bit to fuck with him, so then he can never be as strong as he could be. But if you ever flip and you become really strong, and we fuck over your enemy, we fund them a little bit. And the whole thing was like, look, we can't make ourselves better like the Kobe analogy. We can't become better and win more championships. But tell you what, we can stop you getting to be the number one guy. We can fuck your shit up. So it's a valid strategy. It is. It's a valid strategy, mate. I'll give you one last little Kobe story because this will just tie in.
Okay.
He did also, while he played, used to have a strategy like that. That's actually genius. He even said it in a documentary. This is like beyond Machiavellian, mate. Because who's even thinking about this when they play? He said if he was playing against a team that was like a threat, like an upcoming threat, and they were one of those teams, he just plays in the regular season, so it doesn't matter in this game. He would look up online, like, oh, wait, one of their star players is on a contract year, which means, you know, at the end of the year, you become a free agent and he can leave. And what he would do is he would tell his team, what we're going to do is we're going to double team the fuck out of him. Only him, and we're going to leave the other star open. And that way, when the game flows, well, if you properly move the ball, you move it to the open man. So the ball would keep going to the other star, and the other star would be having a great game, and this guy's frustrated. He's not getting the fucking ball. And Kobe, when he'd be doing like free throws or something, would just side up to this guy and go, bro, you're way better than him, and they don't even give you the ball. And that would just make that guy like, I've got to get the fuck out of this team, yeah? So he was even doing it on like a game-to-game. By the way, you know, everyone else in those games is just thinking like, I'm really tired now. I've got enough left in the tank for the fourth. I haven't hit a lot of shots. Like, fuck, does the coach want me to change? This guy's already on some like, and then I need to like destroy the relationship between these two players. Guy, fucking chess master. I love it. I love it. By the way, they should definitely, you notice already, no one's ever going to make this, but I'll give you the free idea. Japan, you are aware you could make the greatest shonen anime of all time about Kobe Bryant just doing this shit. Just do that and then make it so that it's like those sports ones where they don't just do a dunk, they like fly in the air and have magic powers and shit. Just do that. Like the Kobe Bryant one would be the greatest fucking anime of all time.
But I don't watch my anime, but I would watch that shit, bro. 100%. Oh, there's so many great examples. I know another one that came to mind, which is a little bit different in fighting sports, but it's like in terms of how you viewed and public perception is so important. It's like there's so many fights that never happen with like John Jones that just pissed me off, you know, or like Floyd Mayweather always like picking off fighters as they're on the come up, you know. It's like
people don't know the most genius thing Floyd Mayweather ever did. This is why he was never defeated. Is he did the opposite to what you normally do. You know, normally you go, oh, I'll wait until you get to my level at the top, and then we'll have the fight. If people don't know, I guarantee you, he purposely made that Canelo fight happen really early because that was when Canelo was still mega green, mate. If he'd let that guy go to his peak, Floyd Mayweather would have been way older. He could have lost that one. But he actually made it so it's like I get to like on my record, I beat you. History doesn't look at the shit like that. But you actually got like the most winnable version, I think. No, I'm with you, mate. I think that guy was also a master, wasn't he?
No, for sure. That's just it's like in the fighting game, it's very everything is just driven by eyeballs. It's like that perception. It's like there's also like a very, very big I guess incentive from the promoter side to like keep their fucking prize pony, you know, as clean as possible. Because like if a more boring fighter KOs your guy, bro, you just plummet, you know. It's like Conor McGregor getting choked out by Khabib. I'm sure Dana White was like, "Oh my millions, oh my millions," and he's stopping to fight after the next fight. Oh, fuck.
By the way, the second Khabib actually not only retired, but publicly said it's because of like his mom and the fact his dad's dead. So essentially it's very hard to walk back on that and ever fight again. No matter. And everyone kept saying for years, no, he'll definitely come back for money. He hasn't, by the way, and he probably never going to now. It just looks like he really is just going to coach people. And the second that happened, like as you say, you killed my cash cow, then you could have been on a huge cash cow too, by the way, with like connections to the Russian market. At the time, there wasn't the war, so that was huge. You could have made so much so that when you retire, I bet Dana White literally wanted to just jump like fucking Kyle Reese into a fucking teleporter, come out and just tell Conor McGregor, don't take this fight yet. What we're going to do is we're going to set you up against like, you know, fucking someone else, Tony Ferguson or something. And then we're going to keep that Khabib fight a couple fights down the road. You know, we're going to make him fight someone else. We're going to just say, because you could have, like, his record's not that good yet. He has to like earn the championship status, you know. Mate, that no joke, that one fight mixed with the fact he retired like 2 fights later probably cost the UFC like $10 billion. Mental like that. That's worse than the T1 one. That's bananas. Lost.
It brings us back perfectly because like Zeus joining our life is the equivalent of like there's Conor McGregor, there's Zio of GK getting KO'd, and then but it's worse. Khabib went to one and he's fighting in a different promotion. Like it's even worse because now it's like your competitor has Zeus. They won the first trophy and they're going to the international as a heavy fucking favorite. And we're back. We're back. This wasn't a tangent. It was just a journey. It was just a journey.
Just a scenic route. We just took the scenic route.
Because
that's it. At the end, I want to just make a point about ZK here. People always do this thing in esports. It drives me crazy, Yamato. They act like players are these purely static entities with stats like a game of FIFA, where it's like, no, he dribbles at 86 and his like striking is 76. It's like they change week to week and month to month. And the thing is, you have to be able to adapt your narrative. So people now are going to go, aha, you said Zika was a fluke. He was. You go watch him in 2022. That was a fluke. I thought he was much better last year, but the meta also was sort of slapping him in the face, and he won barely. This one, I can't even say the meta was like super favourite to him. He just fucking won. Like, actually, that's called improvement, guys. He evolved as a player. He improved. What's cool about his story is he did go fluke, who would have been remembered as a meme, like some of the old players like Samsung when they won Worlds. Now he is actually going to probably be, at this rate, a Hall of Famer in his own right. He actually is just a really good world-class mid laner.
No, it's a hell of a thing to change your opinion based off of new information. That's that's definitely one that is, you know, it's a hell of a thing. You know, it's funny because like it's always the people that have no stake in anything that say an opinion, and then if that player has a good game, they come back. Ha! I told you so. It's like, really. Really?
You know, my favourite one, Yamato, because it's the dumbest one, is when they don't even wait for the game to be over. They come back like, this aged well, and then the player comes back and like carries the game and wins it. Because I had this joke I keep saying in other games. If the logic is that aged like milk, well, the logic of milk is once it goes off, it's gone off. It can't then suddenly the next day be super fresh again. That milk doesn't work that way. So your fucking analogy doesn't work, you bozos. So you've cut. And I also do love it, like you say, when they do it after one game and then the guy like wins the championship that year or something. It's like, at least wait till the fucking season's over, for fuck's sake. Come back and dunk on my shit tweet. Whatever. It is whatever, innit?
We did get, you know, like if just to finalize SK, like How Alive falling off. We predicted that one. We knew that was coming eventually, right? It's like the journey was neat and all, but it's like we have to always. I stand behind the experience and the names.
Do you mean D plus?
Sorry, D plus. Yeah.
D plus. I could say you meant D plus. Yeah.
Oh shit.
No, I knew what you meant. Yeah, keep going.
So it's a D plus. It's like this is just a team of youngsters. We knew that the battle journey would end in the end, and I think like after, you know, Showmaker still as a player, he's very, very unique in what he picks. But when it doesn't land, it looks bad. Like GenG just completely smoked them. Chovy was very, very good in that series. I think like D plus is a very formidable team. They should be proud of what they did, because I think it's like. I don't think they could have asked for more. The entire LCK just has to face the issue that two of these teams are just so stacked in the roster. And getting third place is very formidable and respectable, because you're not expected to beat these guys, honestly, at any point in time. Like, the credit that these guys carry is going to be very, very hard to just shake away from. It's just impossible. So that's just the state of LCK now.
Also, I'll give you the copium or the hopium if you're a D plus fan. Two of their players, Lucid already looks better than last year, and Siwoo looks fucking dope. Because these are rookie players, it is possible they can evolve further. Maybe, like, by the way, maybe by the third split, they're just fucking even better. Maybe they've shored up some of the weaknesses. They've got more experience under their belt. By the way, they've just played all these fearless fucking playoff games. That must be like doing like 5 years in the playoffs in normal fucking stress and picks and matchups. So put these guys in a normal meta where you can give them band-aid normal champions that they're really strong on. This could be a bounce back team that could be a surprise who won the next splits too. By the way, they look right now like they can absolutely go to Worlds.
Yeah. And just to follow up on what you mentioned before in terms of like how T1 is going to continue their dynasty, it's like their key player has been Faker. They lost Zeus. It's like Korea, and now like their AD carry position is up in the air. It's like now there could be a situation where it's like now it's like a player like Lucid is super, super good to build on. Like, I could see a world where, like, let's say Showmaker retires and then Scout comes back and he joins his D plus roster, and then you have there's something to work with. It's like the future looks very, very bright when you have young guys like this, like, looking good. And to add on CU, it's like top lane has been so dry. So I'm happy. It's like you could see that he's green, definitely, but it's like he's green against some of the biggest top lane names ever, you know, like Keen, like fucking Keen out of all players. Keen is a fucking machine. It's like there's no shame there, you know, but he's going to rapidly improve. And I think D plus is just have a very, very good foundation, you know, considering there's only, well, it's like we have a situation where there's going to be 3 teams out of LCK or LPL, and then a 4th slot that they have to compete over. Like the race for who gets the Worlds is going to be extremely, extremely interesting.
Yeah, by the way, I even dunked it. I saw there was like some comment think it was in like fucking Cagel's like little community on Twitter, where some person after the LEC, haven't even finished the split yet, after Broken Blade had that carry series against Fnatic, they were like, Broken Blade is top 3 carry in the world, and they didn't mention Keenan. It's like, child, please. First of all, let's have them fucking play and let's see who's better, mate. Give me a break. No, I'm with you, Keen still. By the way, we'll always just go under the radar. It's one of the best players in the world as well. It's a fucking sick-ass player. Just shows how mid laners get all the credit. Then again, that's always been life, hasn't it? Top laners. Am I right? Exactly. Classic, easy pandering to the crowd there. We all know top lane's the hardest one. It's the long lane. The jungler never bloody comes in time. They don't ward properly for you. They're all just playing for that bloody greedy mid laner who's just playing fucking his ear anyway and he can't be killed. So anyway, enough about that. Enough top lane complaints. Now, here's the thing, Yamato. As a fan, a super stan, a lunatic, an ultra, whatever you call yourself, an aficionado, enthusiast, one of the things is you might think to yourself, oh, that's it. If my player leaves or if they're just not on my team anymore, well, I can't affect that. I can't make them play my team. No, but here's what you could do. You could make a website where you make all tributes to them. You could put fan cams on it. You could put like community sourced art. You could even like sell poems and drawings about them. And you could ship, you could do bespoke fanfics about where one of them's a werewolf and the other one's a vampire and then a 3,000-year-old demon girl. And then they all get into crazy hijinks and romantic entrapments, etc. You could do all these things. And if you wanted to do that, by the way, you might think, well, I've put all my unhinged time into being a stan and having a parasocial relationship with this player. I don't know anything about making website storing. Well, that's where Squarespace could help you, because you right now could just use Squarespace, where you have to understand they have all sorts of amazing things on their all-in-one platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online, as opposed to being a loser online. Whether you're just starting out or managing a growing brand, or in this case, unhinged fandom. By the way, you can also use it for totally legit. You don't have to be an unhinged fan, obviously. I'm doing a joke thing here just to show like sort of thematic resonance. Squarespace makes it easy to create a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and sell anything from products to content to time, all in one place, all on your terms. So this is where I'll read out some of the features. I'm going to pick some other ones than I always do here. So they've got the Squarespace payments one. Again, if you want to sell stuff, this is really, really good, because setting up online shops is a nightmare normally. It's the easiest way to manage your payments in one place with Squarespace. Onboarding is fast and simple. Get started in just a few clicks and start receiving payments right away. Plus, give your customers more ways to pay with popular payment methods like Klarna, ACH Direct Debit, Apple Pay, Afterpay, and ClearPay. Those cover basically the Anglosphere there. They've also got, you can connect all the social media and multimedia accounts to the website so that you can just have it. So in a few clicks, you've got the icons, direct links. You can embed your feed, so your Twitter feed's there or your YouTube feed's there. You can build visitor trust while uploading content only where you need it. Because think about it, if you upload the video to YouTube and it's an embedded YouTube video on your website, it's more likely someone clicks it. It's not some dodgy third-party player that they can't trust or they don't know what's going on and something will take their data. So extending your brand's footprint. Sellers can also sync their product catalog directly with Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Google to reach more customers and reduce the steps for a purchase. By the way, that last detail is the ultimate secret of web design. The fewer clicks required, the more likely the person is to go through and pay. If there's 6 clicks instead of 5, someone who would have bought on the 5th click won't do it on the 6th click. They'll bail. They'll do something else. They'll get distracted. They'll get annoyed. Invoicing is obviously a big deal. Listen, I know a lot of people in esports are just lucky the US government never came and audited them, because a lot of people weren't properly doing their taxes. You need to properly invoice so that when you have that tax season, you can just pull up a bunch of documents and it's not some nightmare searching for stuff. It's an easier way to collect payments so you can focus on growing your business, invoice clients and get paid for your services, turn leads into clients with proposals, estimates and contracts, and simplify your workflow and manage your services business on one platform. They've got, as I've always pointed out, the design intelligence thing, which is basically they use like AI technology to help design the site and give it like a coherent theme using like language learning models that are going to know from different websites, etc., what works and what works together and what people like and what the customer enjoys, etc. They also have things where you can do email campaigns so you can engage your subscribers, drive sales via that itself, simplify audience management. You can do automated emails to build connections, and you can easily integrate your products into email templates to drive sales directly and increase site traffic back to your website. So thank you to the people who make the wonderful Squarespace. Wait there 1 second. Pause, please. Head to squarespace.com /summoning, easy to remember, it's the first name of the show, to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using code summoning. So that's squarespace.com/summoning. 10% off, use code summoning. Thank you to both Squarespace, also for their tools and what is possible and how easy they make it and how easy it is for you if you want to make a website to support us by using Squarespace to make yours. And actually, if you end up making one using a purchase from our services, actually tell us in the Last Free Nation Discord or put it in the YouTube comments or something. Tell us what website you made and tell us what it looks like and let us have a look. Maybe we'll check it out. If it's anything to do with League, maybe we'll have a look. Maybe even I'll extend the olive branch if there is an unhinged T1 stand and you make some really great one about how Zeus should have stayed in our new ship, ZOFGK. Maybe I'll even look it up. Maybe I'll even go, all right, I'll get into it. If I was a fan, maybe I'd want to see this website. That's right. I want to hear from you T1 fans for once, ever. As opposed to, normally I sort of agree with the Korean government. You should be able to just sue people and shut them down from sending you comments on the internet, but that's political. Let's get out of politics. So now let's talk. Normally we don't do this. We'll save LEC to the end. We're going to talk about LTA on two angles. Like, let's quickly just do who won. So, spoiler, you had FlyQuest, right?
Yep.
I had 100 Thieves, so I won that one. But the problem is, then 100 Thieves got absolutely their balls. TL dunked their balls all over their face. Spawn is the god. Like, you have to just give it up to him, blah, blah, blah. So, obviously, TL won. 100 Thieves upset FlyQuest, which, by the way, this is where Bwipo, he can't catch a break, bro. Every time Bwipo does well, or things are going well, he comes out and does that thing where he tries to big brother the whole scene and be like, hey, little bro, listen, I tell you what, I'm so magnanimous as the best player in the region. I'll also make time. And actually, if you want, I'll VOD review your shit live on stream as though you're like actually a little bitch and I'm like some fucking legend. Oh, did you just clap me completely? Oh, my bad. Shit. Better be quiet for a while. Bro, the sniper guy's 17 years old. What are we doing here? You should be sending him your VODs. Maybe he could give you a few pointers. He knows how to play the game. Like, what are we doing? Like, so first of all, give me the FlyQuest angle, because I'm with you on paper. They should have won, but what if they done this split, bro? What happened?
Jesus Christ, bro. It's like, as a follow-up as well, it's like with the whole streaming of scrims, it's like it happened once. Will it happen again? No way it will. Bro, like, it was, I know how Nooknuck and Mythy are, and they didn't fucking approve of this. Inspired, like, also said in interviews, like, he thinks it's pretty fucking useless, but I guess we're doing it now. It's like, from just a competitive standpoint, it's like, it was so obvious shit is going to get awkward if they start losing. And losing to 100 Thieves in the way they did, Whip was my boy, but bro, Whippo played very, very bad in that series. Like, he had very, very awkward fire angles. The preparation also, like, I feel like it almost feels like almost outdated the way Flag was doing things. It's like they seem very like World Championship pilled, and then the question is like if maybe that was just their meta and they stuck to it, and that's where they're at. I think that Quad also didn't look too good in that series, and I don't think it's like 100 Thieves is definitely like benefiting from the fact that like Mythy said this on the Sakna, where it's like 100 Thieves were good at clicking on the same spot. And this year, it's very rewarding to click on the same spot. And now they also have a good fucking AD carry. And FlyQuest couldn't do that, as simple as it is. They couldn't click on the same spot because they were kind of all over the place. They were getting caught left and right, and 100 Thieves just looked way better. FlyQuest couldn't bounce back. And I thought that, with just their macro ideas, that they would be able to put everything else into place. But they really, really didn't this time around. There is that nuance of like these players and the teams are then moving then to Brazil to play in new facilities, new areas. It's a pseudo international event for these teams when they have to play abroad, and those are things that you need to, of course, manage. But you expect, with the experience that they have, that they're going to manage that better than a 100 Thieves roster where the coaching staff is less experienced, the players are less experienced, but still they pulled through. And to get started on Team Liquid, we already said the previous one. It's like, Spawn deserves so much credit. Like, Spawn and Rainover deserve so much credit for what they did last year, considering where they're at and how they managed to like hide all of the weaknesses of this team and still be so damn formidable with being like so good at lane swaps, hiding their lanes, and their mid lane having less of a pool, and just playing legit like fucking 2 champs at a good level. And then everything just got exposed more and more over time. But now somehow they make a resurgence. And the timing is when Spawn, after staying at home with his family after a long work year of the previous one, flies in, and the team just looks completely revitalized. Like the big standouts for me, if anybody, is just CoJJ's form was absolutely insane. Obviously, a player like CoJJ and Impact, they're going to be able to step up to the table. Like when it comes to just winning the championship, like they know how to find form better than everybody. Because I think if there was a picture of something on the word consistency, it would be a picture of fucking CoJJ's face. If like he finds form again, played better than fucking any other support in the league. And then I think the key piece in terms of underperformance in Mama was just APA. Like APA was back on his bullshit, he was playing the Ziggs, he was playing the Aurelion song, and he went back to it. And maybe the whole split was just a psyop to make people forget because it's a single elimination, and they managed to surf close enough to the sun, because that series against Isurus, of course, was a very close one and a disgusting one, but they managed to bounce back, and they managed to get it done. Umti still on fraud watch, because he did play bad in some of those games and got away with it because just over how well their team was playing. But he also looked fine, I guess, in a game or two. So we give him that. Spawn is just a Team Liquid whisperer. There's just no other way. It's like, I wish I was a fly on the wall, but I don't need to be, because the change-up happened when he arrived. I can only put one and one together. That's the only thing we can do.
Plus, if you'd have been a fly on the wall, you'd have gotten swatted. Shout out FlyQuest. This is also an example of how narratives flip. Because, bro, when they put this roster together, all the hype went to APA. He was the one that was the NA talent who was really good. Everyone, myself included, because he was shaky, flamed Yon. They were like, come on, man. Can you ever really win in tournaments with Jackie Love and fucking Guma and Elk when you've got this guy, right? The difference is, I think APA has shown, it's not even that he's bad, he's just a limited player. I will even credit some of the glow up in these playoffs to Spawn and the coaching staff as well. It looked like they really did just do that thing of like, bro, for you, there is no meta. There are just your champions. You are going to draft your champions whenever you can. We will play around them. You know what? Leave all the other shit out. Leave that, just forget about that. Go, literally, Ori and Sol, you can have it. But you want to play Nico mid again? Fuck it. Why not at this point in time? Let's just go back to it, because here's the difference. When you bring up your flaw, the rest of the team can win. And the difference is, it's the other way around. The talent of the two is the Yon guy, mate. How good has this fucking guy been for the last two splits now? He just smurfed the whole finals too. He's just actually a stud. And by the way, we talked about in past episodes, I consider FBI a very good player. I actually think he is a really solid, fucking LCS top, always above average ADC. He's got really good mechanics. Yon actually's the truth, mate. He's really legit. And he's even got that thing where when he used to trash talk and he was kind of like a bit of a choker, it's like, nah, that doesn't work. I've always said you can't be Conor McGregor, but the joke is he can't himself be himself anymore. It doesn't work when you don't fight or you lose all the time, mate. But I'll tell you what, if you actually do the shit he's doing now, you bang on them and then you trash talk, give me more. Let me just drip feed that shit into my mouth and it all just drain down. You're kidding me. That's fucking fire. I love that he's got the attitude now as well.
Yeah. No, Yeon, super talent. Even the World Championship last year, out of all players, he was the best performing player by far. He had to drag them over the finish line when they played against the minor regions, and Yeon has just been performing time and time again. So I spoke to CoJJ about what they saw in him, and apparently in scrims he was always performing super well. It was just would never transfer. He would just freeze up and not perform, and that's why they stuck with him at the time. Where big question mark. They made this Korean speaking roster, right, with the Korean coaching staff. And they had the mid laner that Harry, that they ended up replacing APA with, right, when they had Summit and Pioshik, and they stuck with Eon. And at the time, Eon was also on Fraud Watch together with Harry, and to see that the investment into Eon is paying off is super cool. But this Team Liquid winning here, it doesn't change my opinion about the change that I wish they would have made, which is the jungle position. I still think coming into this international, I am not hopeful about them beating the European representative, which is most likely just going to be G2, of course. And they're not going to touch China. They're not going to touch Korea either. Maybe the LCP, CFO, they can beat, of course. But, CFO have some legends too, like Casa, they have some cool players there too. But as long as that's the case, I do feel this roster is the players that need to break their ceilings, it would be such an incredibly like impossible task to do that in order to raise the potential ceiling of this team. It's like, how much better do you want Yeon to play? Like, how much better do you want the legends that it's impacting JJ play? Maybe APA can find new strides, but it's like Umti is tapped out, bro. He's had as long of a career as some of the other guys on this team. And after that comment that he made about, oh, these are just best of threes, you'll see the real me in best of five, blah, blah, blah. It's like, bro, we've seen the real you for a very, very long time. And I think that he is holding this team back. But I do think that when Fearless is off and the enemy team has to be like, oh, I guess we have to ban MKoi and Ziggs and these champions every game, then maybe he can get away with it. But that's not the state of mind you want to be in. It's like you go into World Champions, you want to get away with shit? Nah, man. You're hoping that if you retain the majority of the players, that you break through into like new environment. And I don't see them having a better year this year than the last one, if we count from the point where they started performing, which of course was like spring playoffs, right? That's when they started performing, because the spring in the regular season wasn't the greatest. So to me, it's like, as a point of comparison, like G2, it was very rational that they made changes, because they tried the same thing 2 years back to back. It didn't change. They didn't make it out of groups. They didn't have like, they didn't break through into MSI. Sure, they beat top esports, but in terms of like the ceiling, that was already hit. So they needed to make changes. And I felt like Team Liquid reached that ceiling already last year with Umti. So still, Umti just ruins the hype for me when it comes to these Team Liquid rosters still.
What about, let me think.
We got C9 as well.
Yeah, what did you, here's the thing. C9 is like, I feel like people the whole time, because they lost Jojo, who was a fan favorite, they didn't put like some super shot caller onto the team, but people still not sure like where Cloud9 as an org is at. I think like people kind of underrated this roster the whole way through. They weren't even bad, bro. Like I actually think they performed above expectations for me. The majority of the times I saw them play, they're not bad. They're certainly not a bad squad.
I like in my mind, it just comes across as a team that requires more time. Like I think it was kind of in a weird way the D plus of North America, in a sense that even though 100 Thieves could maybe also claim that title. You have Loki with limited experience, Thanatos too. It just seems like individually they are very, very capable of doing more than they showed. Like there were moments where individually on a mechanical level, because I think usually that is the framing for what your ceiling is. I think that when they get more time together and they potentially, let's say, they bootcamp in Korea and preparation for the next split, I do think that over time this is a team that can compete. But still, in my mind, coming into things, they had to face up against rosters that didn't make any changes. Flacos was the same. Team Liquid was the same. 100 Thieves just upgraded their AD carry, which is very, very plug and play. So C9 as a team, I think with majority of things kind of changing up, like sure, Thanatos was put in summer last year. This is a team that made the most amount of changes. They have our boy Dom also helping them out. They have Inero. They have changed the coaching staff too. I think this is a team that I'm watching them, hopefully.
By the way, that's one thing that no one even picked up on. So listen, I will never leave a straight fire fucking, even if it's a low-hanging joke just out there. Right, guys, I need you to just understand the delicious irony of Cloud9's coaching staff. So remember, guys, Dom, as a streamer, called out Inero when he worked for Golden Guardians for hiring, like, essentially his friends who were, like, from Oceanic region as his coaching staff, right? Then later, Dom now does analysis for Inero's Cloud9. Listen, the jokes write themselves, bro. I guess you know what? All right, shout out to Dominic, Nepo baby, I will dominate.
I just know that if this gets to Dom, this would annoy the shit out of him.
And also, I'll just throw this in there to double down on the same narrative. He also then hired Yamato, his friend, to be a fraud coach of the Roddy Sack. So he also became an hero in the end.
Fuck me, man.
You know your real problem is this, Yamato. It wasn't that you had to win that split. That's not the real issue. But you had to lose to Los Ratones. Your problem is you lost to Bulldog Esports. People go, wait a second, because no one watches that league. They just watch your games. Who is this? Kasing? But what year is this? This is like Jumanji. This is 2015 as well. Kasing?
This is a stain.
I know. The wound's too fresh in it.
It's a stain that, bro, is gonna require a lot of washes. It's a rough one, you know. It's like, you know, the craziest thing is like it was like GenG lost, IG lost, and then Jankos and Perks lose. I'm like, damn, all the goats are washed.
It's true.
It's like all the goats are washed. It's just life, man. Shit. What else about LTA, bro?
Well,
how about the
viewership? Is the viewership, right? So I'm going to give people the info here. This is where people need the actual numbers. First of all, in the split itself, before they went cross-region, peak viewership was 149,000, and average viewers was 88,000 a game. Now, if you want to know how mental that is, there were some games in fucking Katowice in Counter-Strike when a female team played like the 13th best team that were getting 400,000 views. That would be like 2 to 3 times the LTA North with all those $1 million players, big names, blah, blah. And then when you go cross-regional, understandably, it got boosted. It's still not that much, Yamato. Peak viewership, 291,000. Average viewers, 162,000. Now, Monty said on his tweet that if you go from last year in summer, they were at a peak of 233, and then in the LTA, they went to around 90. That's a 61% decrease in the regular split. Like, that is insane. Essentially, you just bled 2/3 of your viewers almost completely out the door. And then you got some more viewers for the cross region, but I'm going to guess some of that was like South American people watching. By the way, I'll just put this out there. That doesn't help a North American brand, unfortunately. Like, that viewer from Brazil isn't buying whatever the sponsor is of like the team who's in the top, and they're in LA. Like, just, that's not how, and also that's not how marketing budgets work. You care about the people within your region doing it. Like, even if they had that product in that shop in Brazil, it doesn't actually, unfortunately, help your regional marketing person who did the deal with you, that they buy it in Brazil. That actually helps the Brazilian guy who didn't do anything. He's like, why we've got a spike on this shit? Okay, well, fair enough. I didn't know the LTA North were here. So it's looking really, really bad. Like, Monty even said the LTA playoffs, based on that, had a majority non-English viewership. But it's supposed to be this was originally the North American League, guys. Like, in fact, as I pointed out in past episodes, at the origin of League of Legends, when me and you were around, Europe was almost like an ERL compared to, even though the teams were better, compared to the LCS. It's why it wasn't just millions of dollars. People also, by the way, Bjergsen wanted to go to TSM, not just for millions. He also wanted to be a superstar. He wanted to be one of the biggest names. And by the way, it worked. People like the only person in Europe I think ever came, even if you don't get this, guys, in Europe, even Caps hasn't really gotten close to the like worldwide fame Bjergsen had. And he won MSI. The only person who came close in Europe is Reckless. He became his own brand that had Gucci. And as you saw in that stat from last year, Wikipedia was the second most searched player after Faker. And by the way, the other players below Reckless were the actual other real winning players of T1 who just won Worlds. So to get that kind of fame, the idea of the LCS could be basically like the LCS is like NA Masters to me now. Like, what is this? This is fucking bonkers, bro. Like, everything's just bled out. What do you think of this?
It's just so crazy to me that it just seems like every decision that has been made is to like slowly kill it. It like reminds me of this Office episode where they're launching this store and this dumbass fucking triangle, and then at the final meeting when they want to like, they're just gonna axe the whole project because the CEO is basically just played along to appease the owners. And at the end, the whole plan was to just let it play out and then axe it. And that's how it feels that they're treating the NALCS. It's like, as a viewer, why would I ever commit into investing time into something that is so chaotic and so sporadic in terms of there's no consistency at all in which teams are there, in terms of what the schedule is. It's like looking back already when they put it on weekdays. It's like, like to try to sell us a piece of crap, you know, in the shape, you know, just because they sprinkle some fucking gold on it. Like, I'm not gonna fucking eat it. It was so obvious that they're thinking, oh, our Valorant viewership is more important than the sharing studio, and the dishonesty in that was just so blatant. And as a continuation, it's like now this week, bro, like they had the LTA playing during the Super Bowl. Like what is going on there, man? They was playing during the Super Bowl. This finals was during the LEC in terms of how they structured time. And time again now, the format is always changing. You have a team that is a guest team that wants to leave. Like, they are showing every signal. It's like, we are out, bro. Fuck this shit. This is terrible. And they are performing and they are competing. Like, if I'm watching a TV show, right? It's like there's this. I think the show that is so famous called Firefly. Like, everyone says this show is so damn insane, but I don't want to watch that shit because I know it was fucking cancelled very quickly. Like, why would I get invested into something knowing it's going to end terribly? It's the same way Game of Thrones right now. It's like, I have a hard time rewatching it, even though the first season I love it. I know it's going to end in shit. Yeah, I don't want to invest time into something because there's nothing to be invested into. The format changes, the players change, the tournament structure changes. What am I getting invested to? And on the same side, on the LTA South side, the things that the fans were invested to, like invested in, the storylines about the players competing against each other, teams competing against each other, they took it out the back and shot it in the head. So what are you left with? Just a shell, just a number that you're hoping that you can squeeze out, because where do you go from here? Where do you go from here? No one seems to be interested enough to be partnered in the league. There's no 8 solid teams that want to like make something. There's like, you have three actors there that are happy to be there, and everyone else is just fucking stressed. It's like, I wish I didn't have a team and I could sell this spot for profit somehow, but that's just not possible. So I don't know where we go from here. I really don't know where we go from here.
Well, here's the thing. I will now play the role of Monty, if anyone knows some of the insight, because people have suggested that. So all the people make the suggestion. And the problem is, it's going to sound really crazy, and everyone automatically is against it, Yamato. The idea is do a Super League. And now, the problem is, if you know the response to the Football Super League, fans lose their minds because they're like fans of a local team, or they're just not fans of like Man City or whatever, or they know that it would like, it's true, it would like kill all the viewership of the other leagues, but it would make one super insane league where everyone spends billions every year and you get insane viewership. And the idea is, because your league would be like Real Madrid against Man City, against Liverpool, against fucking Juventus, against this, it would be like the UCL on steroids, mate. Like, you could actually have like the craziest football viewership. You could get like 1 billion viewers for a game, or something like World Cup style or something, right? Essentially, the premise you could do goes like this. You either just make like the top teams, like, let's be real, some of the teams that are in LTA aren't real teams, mate. They're just there because you have to have 8 teams. You can't have like 3 teams in the fucking league. But there already are only 3 to 4 like really important franchises in the league that have real brands that extend past. You take those teams and you either add them to LEC, they just fly over, get lower living costs, all this. By the way, in theory, if you do it right there, that can still work for your sponsors as long as American viewers watch the tournament. Like in Counter-Strike, you can go to all the tournaments and not be an American. You can still have sponsorship for Team Liquid, etc. But the other angle you could also do is you could, in theory, also move them to the East Coast, and then they just make like a brief flight over for like a finals or something. You could do cross-region play again or whatever. But like, that's like a potential answer. Because anyone thinking, but how would that work for LEC? Listen, LEC, like LCS, has had rules they refuse to employ. Rogue at this point in time can actually, by the rules, be kicked out of the LEC. That's actually a real thing. There's like 3 splits of 10 players or whatever. You can boot them out. You can force them to sell. Listen, Monty would tell you right now, they can force you to sell, mate. You don't have to be the one where it's like, I don't want to. It doesn't matter. Like, it's their party. They kick you out if they want to. So you can kick them out. Listen, I would never go for this because I know they've run their org very well, actually, in terms of money. But SK Gaming's never been a champion. They've been miles and miles off doing that. They're a team you could potentially kick out, pick a different one. If you want to downsize the league and bring the LCS, like, put it this way, even though people who are fans won't get this, if you were in the LEC, there's way more value having like Team Liquid and Cloud9 join than there is having fucking SK and Rogue, as in even to the other teams in the LEC. Like, it would make the whole league more valuable. So it's a pipe dream. I don't think Riot will even consider this. I don't think it's even on the table. I don't think it's even in their minds. Also, it would be the ultimate like staying on their own shit, because if you have to leave your own continent after fucking up like the easiest home field advantage of all time with the LCS in the early days, I mean, that at that point, just shut down League of Legends, mate. Like, or just let it be an open circuit that everyone else controls the product of, because you fucked it. You made every mistake that was wrong. Monty even said, actually, if you look at the results of the last few years, it shows that it wasn't Riot making great decisions that made the LCS huge. It was like superstar names. It was massive fan bases. It was like intrigue that isn't there anymore. And actually, when they're just left to their own devices in like a normal esport, they can fuck it up. They can halve their own viewership. They can sort of paint themselves into a corner where I'm with you. I don't know how it comes back as like an NA-esque project at all, mate. I don't know how you'd reverse course. What do you think in a Super League? Would it be too crazy for you?
My concern would be it's like when that slowly withers, then it's over, you know? But maybe that's just what it is. Because I do think it's like, even though I'm a person on a competitive standpoint, I would want to have more international competition, and I want to see matchups that we never get to see. The rarity of it all really creates for like a spectacle. It's like there's a reason why the World Championship is always the most viewed. It's because it is a spectacle. They also invest the most money into making it into a spectacle, and making every moment as powerful as that. When you get to see certain matchups a little bit too often, I do think it kind of wears down on the potential spark of it all, because there's always like certain records are broken when you get to see that matchup. So, for example, now we had like the Koi versus KC matchup with Jisoo Fnatic. It's like everything just kind of marinated just right to create that moment. It's like a lot of things had to be put into place. If you force that moment, I don't feel like it has the same level of spectacle. It's the same if you have like the regional leagues and you have La Liga and you have the Premier League, and then finally you get that UCL matchup that you've been waiting for so long. It brings and draws people in again that might have like a yearning for something that just never occurred. And that magic, I am always afraid with playing with that magic, you know. That makes me so scared. It's like going back to the whole LTA thing. It's like Europe was very lucky that the legacy strong orgs in G2 and Fnatic stuck around. They stuck around. They were competitive. They made decisions that allowed them to live. We look over in North America. It's like Team Liquid has been a very strong org for a very long time. FlyQuest did like good decisions, but they're fairly recent if you compare to everybody else. But the exit of TSM and COG, like the fans that had, like that were committed to something and were fans of something for a long time, those are the legacy fans. It's like you're not going to get new players in North America to play League, because the amount of players that are coming into League of Legends in general is very, very limited. Very, very limited. It's like sometimes it's like an artificial boost when you bring in like a Ludwig or a Moist Critical for Shopify Rebellion, whatever. But even someone like Tyler One has spent the majority of his time playing World of Warcraft recently. It's like how are you going to get the new generation to want to watch LTA, which is close to impossible, and at the same time all the legacy names are no longer there. Anyone that used to watch LTA or LCS in the past, it is not the same. It is so far removed from what it used to be, and I think a big part of that is just the view of North America needing to win internationals and compete internationally. That just skewed like the whole approach. It's like the VC money came in and they thought we can spend money to win a championship now, and it's going to pay for itself over time. And I think that just really warped everything in terms of what the identity of the league was. The LCS was so massive because the personalities were so fucking funny. It's like in the beginning you had like the Dignitas team, the TSM team, the COG team. Like these were the top three teams in the region, and then you had Curse like on the come up and so forth. And there was a legacy there. What is the current legacy beyond, let's say, Team Liquid and CoJJ? It's like FlyQuest is doing good, building something. 100 Thieves is a guest team. What are we doing? What are we doing? There's no legacy left. And in the LEC, it's like they're moving in the right direction, because it's like Koi is very, very keen on making the most out of the business opportunity. Casey as well, like their decisions are paying off. They bring in Kalis, Vladi. They have like a methodology in terms of their approach. They're bringing in like strong partners to the league. What are the strong partners that want to participate in LTA? It just seems like almost poisoned in terms of an investment and in terms of how they are running things too. I think that Riot is also signaling as well to everybody that it is poison too in terms of how they make decisions.
There was actually also, what's amazing to me is I agree with you definitely on the fan thing. There aren't any fans like that around. It's one of the reasons why Reddit is sort of dead nowadays. It's just like the same, like 300 people just posting increasingly more unhinged takes about everything. Like there isn't the League of Legends subreddit, guys, used to literally sometimes be like the third biggest subreddit on all of Reddit itself. It had insane impact on traffic. If you ever got your video onto the front page in the top 5, you get like 100k views. You get like 2k views extra or something from it. Now it's nothing. Like people are there just to have a weird little conversation with each other about increasingly weird things. The old school fans, which are, by the way, are the not ultras. They're just the normal common and garden guy who's like, hey, I just support CLG. I hope fucking Hotshot does a good job this year. Those people are gone, mate. They're all older, or they've got jobs, or they've just moved, by the way, or they've moved on to other esports. Maybe they watch CS or Valorant now, or TFT, or fucking Rocket League, whatever it is, they've gone. And the reason why I can tell you that as well is, bro, it wasn't even that long ago. If you think during like the TL dynasty, like 2018, 2019, I went over there one time. I forget exactly why I was there. Maybe it was to do like help see Monty do Overwatch League or something. I forget. I went to LA at some point in like, I looked it up in 2019, and me and Monty, because we were in LA and that's where he lived, just to say fuck it, we went down to a day to the LCS unannounced. We just went down, we went in there. By the way, in real life, the people who are the riot people, obviously it's not Mark Merrill at the fucking door, is it? Like, turn him away. Like, it's all just the people who are just the chill people who work for riot. They were even all being super nice to us. Like, hey, we can come back here. You can come back into the team room and talk to your friend or whatever who's a pro player and all that jazz. And when we were at this venue, the joke is, you'd never think this from Reddit, but like, mate, loads of fans just kept coming up to us all the time. Can I get a signature? Can I get a photo with Monty? So, hey, oh, love the shorts. They had like a super like positive, vibrant fan base of people who were coming every week and bringing signs. And they used to do that little like sort of tailgate thing outside where you buy the merch, you take pictures with the teams. It's actually one of the reasons why I always thought it was fucked up when teams who were big would lose and then go, no media. It's like, oh, fuck off, mate. That's half. They're the people who make your sport live. Like, you go and do that because that's half of your job. What do you mean you don't feel like taking that? Well, in that case, don't feel like cashing the fucking check at the end of the month. Like, that is the people who make the LCS live and breathe. Those people I don't think exist anymore, mate. I mean, nowadays there's a reason why, like, we're traveling to bloody Brazil to do a live event. Like, it's just done. It's cooked in North America. It's just cooked. Even though, sadly, as we talked about with the teams, still some all right teams. I do think they're not world class. I think they're still living on a fantasy that, like, oh, but we almost did well. And I told you, get almost the fuck out of conversations. Like, tell me what you did, motherfucker. Oh, my aunt almost had balls and was my uncle, but thankfully, that almost doesn't count for shit. And I can still kiss her on the cheek. I don't know what that means. That was some sort of like weird sort of, boomerism on that one. It's all good.
Oh, the TSM chants, although annoying when they slowly died out in crowds all over the world.
That actually tells you how fucked they were. TSM chants as a joke were still done until the modern day. There are real teams that won the LCS don't get chants. Like, that's all you need to know right there, mate. TSM wasn't even there. People still doing it as a meme. Like, that was actual cultural impact. By the way, I do think, unironically, now it wasn't because they were smart, because they had no money left. Yamato, supposedly from some dickhead guy on Twitter now, he used to work for TSM. They have like 6 employees in the whole company at this point in time, he claims. Right? People have to realize, I do think if you go and look when TSM left the LCS, that was the beginning of the end, mate. TSM's leaving. Bro, that's like if one day, on the same day, like 10, 15 years ago, in the WWE, they were like, oh, bad news. The Rock, fucking Triple H, who else am I going to put in here? The Undertaker, they're all just leaving tomorrow. It's like, fucking turn the lights off then, mate. Like, those are the superstars. That's the people I'm putting all the fucking fights at WrestleMania around, SummerSlam and all that shit. Like, I can have one go. If anything, I can't have the main one go and I can't have them all leave. Like, as soon as TSM left in that sense, like, mate, that was the beginning of the end. That's what you call the writing on the wall. You could see which way this was headed. It wasn't going to turn around because some influencer was like, I'm part of Shopify Rebellion now. Like, that ain't enough, mate. That ain't enough. And I'm just going to say this as well. This is also a thing that's been underestimated. This is why getting propped up by core streamers was a short-term, I would say it was a short-term, like, it was almost placebo effect, because it worked in the short term and it made you think this is the cure. But the reason why it wasn't the cure in the long run is because, bro, those people don't even watch. So you're going to tell me Moist Critical and Ludwig are people who own part of Shopify Rebellion. Well, when they turn their streams on, why isn't the viewership like 500k? Those guys can get enormous viewership. Bro, even their fans don't fucking watch. Like, no one does. It's just that kind of thing was that it works for novelty value and then it falls away as the problem. That's not a long-term strategy. And if you know anything about Valorant, if people like Tarek just don't turn their stream on, your event's like half as successful, but you did everything else the same exact way. Like, that's not a business model. It's not the Tarek fucking VCT. It's supposed to be VCT with Tarek involved if he wants to be. Like, that can't be the load-bearing pillar below the entire equation, or we're fucked. The house is going to fall down.
I do think though that in general it has just moved in that direction. It's just like a personality economy almost, and I think that the LEC is very lucky that it's like Kameto, Ibai, Keiju. It's like the biggest streamers in the category are just there, and actively they are like if Koi and KC didn't make a competitive team this year, next year too, it's like the spark would die. The spark would die and the hype would die and it just wouldn't work. Like Shopify Rebellion, this partnership they did with Ludwig and Moise, it's very obvious that they're not in it. No, they don't give a fuck about the game. They didn't continue co-streaming or were involved at some point. It's very, very artificial. It needed to be very, the interest needed to come from the purest, the purest form of it. Because it's like, I know Kameto, he wants to fucking compete. Like he fucking was in pain when we were losing, right? He wants to fucking compete. Ibai is clearly really, really fucking competitive too, and like that part of it matters. It's like this is like the new generation of what PSM and COG used to be, because that rivalry was just insane. Like Hocho GG versus Reginald was like one of the most hype things ever. Like COG versus TSM, like all the signings they would make. It's like when Reginald retired and they put in Bjergsen, it's like it was a fucking event. It was an event every time. And the G2 Fnatic, they kept on. It's like that matchup is exciting to this day. Sure, it's like G2 is winning a lot of those, but it's like now we have Koi and Casey, and now we're just in a position where you really, really just need to have the right people. And I think LEC is super, super lucky for that, because those guys don't exist in North America anymore.
Right, let's do it. Let's do the LEC segment. Now, look, I obviously have my own LEC podcast on this network, which is called The Best Damn League Show, which if people don't know, now uses the snake and banter format of good, bad, and ugly points. And there's a guest every week, and Peter Dunn's the co-host. It's an interesting dynamic, blah, blah, blah. So I always save a few takes for that, and I have a different angle. I tend to take the conversation here about other things. So we won't go crazy on this one, but I think we'll do some of this. So one of the things I think we should start out with is, one of the downsides of some of these formats now is you sometimes play 2 series before we ever get to bloody talk about what's going on. So we already had the Fnatic G2 one was a week ago. Okay, that one was okay. We did that. So we did the G2 Karmine Corp upper final, and then we did the lower matches. So let's do the G2 Karmine Corp one, because here's the problem, Yamato. When I did the aforementioned Best Damn League Show, one of my good points, this was optimism speaking, because that's the thing about me, Yamato. I am at heart an eternal optimist. But when people let me down and disappoint me, I stop giving my optimism to them. I keep it for myself, where I know I can control what happens, etc. So one of the problems is, my good point was, bro, if Kalist can actually perform like he has the rest of the split in this match against G2 and Hansama, the whole LEC will change. Like, suddenly, all bets are off. And you really do have a caps of the ADC. You've got a guy there who's just going to revolutionize. You know what, mate? Not only did Dylan Falco cook the draft, not only did like G2 play great and a whole bunch of players played awesome and Baby had his great season. I'll tell you what else as well, mate. This was the welcome to the LEC moment for Kalist. Because you know what, mate? When you become a potential star talent and people see that the other team plays through you and your picks and your aggression and what you want to do, here's what happens with the other coaches. They go, let's ruin that guy's life. Let's make him not even play League of Legends. Let's make him feel what the difference is like. Support diff, jungle diff, everything. Let's make this guy feel what it's like. By the way, this is what we feel like when we go play the fucking, JDG or someone at Worlds and they shit all over us, etc. It's not even that Kalista is bad, mate. They made his life fucking suffering. This was hardness. This series, everything from draft to in the game to, bro, Here's the thing, if he ever becomes a champion, these are the moments that make you a champion, mate. When someone just slaps you in the face that you aren't ready. You're good, but there's a level up here,
Kalis definitely got Canelo'd, bro, by Floyd Mayweather of the league. This was a time to chop him down. Yes. It's like the biggest point about the series was just the bottling gap. I know that BB had a fantastic Choga game where he just solo killed the Sion, but like the tone that was set already with the Lulu blind that didn't make sense from a strategic side into, of course, inviting Labrov Blitzcrank. It's like that matchup should give you opportunities. It's like a hook lands. But that was just Labrov and Hansama like completely just taking over the game. It was hook after hook. At some point, it was as if like what you mentioned about what Kobe does. It's like, oh, this rookie came in here, let's fuck him up. it was the analogy just fits And now, yeah, like, I just remember that moment where like Labrov like snuck in behind the tier 2 mid at like 12 minutes into the game, and he's hooking Varus as he's like walking back, and that was just so psychotic, but it was just so good.
Veteran moves like that where you can like just go around the edge of the fucking fog of war, and then like,
Yeah.
oh, I love that. Chef's kiss.
Oh, that was just so good. I guess I can imagine it's like my big thing when before the split started. I thought that G2 was going to win it all due to just their coaching staff and the existence of just Caps and BB, and in terms of Fearless. Somewhere along the line, when Fnatic went 8-1 and looked good, I put them above them, and that apparently doesn't pan out at all. But I can imagine from G2's side, this must feel so damn good, because like the Skimon move, brilliant. Like he looks like the best jungler in the league in terms of how he's performed. In terms of this matchup, the significance in the conversation of Rookie of the Split is also super massive, because you had the story of Skimon versus, of course, Kalist, and then Yike, who, of course, was removed from the team, and then Skimon playing. It was just too many. Like they must just, the celebration must feel so good, because now everything is redeemed, and all that flack they took, in that moment. That's a part of the game, but they sat down and they worked. They sat down, worked, they bound down their head and they worked, and they let the game speak for itself. Nobody came out and said anything. They just sat down, put in the hours, and just delivered big time. From the strategic side, it's like in terms of making Kalist his life miserable, it's like that Draven strategy that they pulled off. It was optimistic at most, but I didn't think G2 would fuck him up that harsh. It got to the point where like that was the worst Draven game you could possibly play. It was Kaylin, Zinzao, Braum, Anivia, Cho'Gath. Like Draven can't even look at anybody. And then there was the level 3 gang setup, and Kalist just couldn't breathe. He just couldn't breathe at all. And I do think that he can bounce back from this. Like, I'm not going to be that guy that just like fucking, the community like sometimes does, Kalist is just overhyped, whatever. No, bro. Like this is the LEC. You learn from this, you move on. And I think that, this is a roster that can. But strategically, I have to say that KC really, really dropped the ball here. A big thing that I was excited for was just the Kana versus BB matchup. Like BB is someone that is just so well-rounded, while Kana is more of a specialist. He was always the player that was a specialist. It's like when he played in the LCK, the standard for any top lane in this kit at the time when he played was always, it's like you have to have a mean Gnar, you have to be able to play Jace, you have to be able to play Renekton. You play these three on rotation, and if you're feeling cheeky, you play a little Camille, and then sometimes an Ornn if you are, you have a team for it. But that was like the core, and Kana kept the same thing going. And in this series, he ended up playing into BB's strengths.
Yeah, it was wild.
It's like they won one game, and that was when he played Rumble in a horrible matchup. It was a very, very hard Rumble game. He invites the Galio when the enemy has Nocturne. It's like Rumble shouldn't be able to breathe on side. It's a very tough game, and that's the game that they win. But in the other matches, he's playing Sion, Kesante, and then Ornn. You're playing into BB's strengths. So there's a lot of things here that KC need to workshop, because it seemed almost as they forgot what actually got them to this point. And this on this day, like KC just got manhandled, bro. Like, they got annihilated.
Yeah, this is also why I also, like everyone else, this is one of the only times ever where I did just say, yeah, even with the new roster, it probably should be G2. That's the best. Like, I have to see Fnatic do it. We'll get to them in a minute. The problem with that roster is it's enticing, but how will it work? How will it have the same consistency and well-roundedness? Will he draft it the right way that G2 does, etc.? No, the thing is, I've got two things to say on this. One, if you are Reha, the coach, and you are Kalist, the ADC, you just take it on the chin and go, okay, there's actually someone better than me in this league. I thought I might be the shit. Maybe it was my time. Not yet. I have to earn that. I have to get to that level. I have to prove I'm as good. By the way, it's double a limb. Meet them in the finals and run it back. Show them this time. Change what you do in the draft. By the way, definitely don't do that in fucking Draven draft. I'm with you. That was a nightmare one, mate. Then also, I just want to say this, because this is the part that's so lost. The real problem fans have in esports is this. They never know where the line is on the joke. Like, they take what is banter and make it like a fucking blood feud, and you deserve to die forever, and you're a piece of shit who should never work again, right? If you're a G2 fan going, Giotto talked shit and said we wouldn't work. Right, first of all, he said you couldn't qualify for Worlds. You haven't qualified for Worlds yet. I don't know if you know how the season works. That hasn't happened yet. That could come back to backfire on you, potentially. But more importantly, didn't that make it like 5 times more fun when you beat them in the regular season, when you then go into the smash them on the fucking bracket, then they're getting bombed out early, you all go into the finals? Didn't that make it better? Then you have to acknowledge he did you a favor. He actually did the whole LEC a favour with that trash talk. Whether he meant it for real or whether he was being a wrestling heel, that made literally G2's rise better. If instead everyone just said from game 1, well, G2 looked like shit in that game and lost to a team that's not good, but you know what? They're G2. I'm sure they win in the end. It's always G2 Fnatic in the finals. Yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. Let's not hype any of these teams. Let's not say GX has any chance. Let's not say Karmine Corp and Koi might be better than G2. Let's just keep it same old, boring old. There's no narratives at all. Let's say they even do come back and actually play exactly the same and they win. The league's just half as interesting, mate. Like, you can certainly do the thing like a wrestling character. You can boo and boo, you suck. But the idea of like, what a moron, I hope he never does that again. If you're a G2 fan, you should want him to do it next split too. You should want him to say, that was because it was fearless. In the normal meta, you will fucking wither and die. Mate, that would make it 10 times more spicy. How about this? How about if the rare guy, I'll even give you a little free tip here, mate. Say you do lose the league and you come second or third. You then do an interview that was like, when we played normal meta against G2 scrims, I always thought they were actually quite easy to read. Oh, now it's game on again for the next split, motherfucker. Now when fearless goes away, now all of a sudden, wait a minute, what? Your G2 fan, he's talking shit on us. We win the champion. Who the fuck are you? Exactly. That's the feeling that you want to capture. That's it. That's it right there, mate. So, no, I agree. By the way, I just want to see who plays him in the final now. Now let's do the Fnatic conversation. Bruh. The level of fraudulency on Fnatic right now is fucking crazy. Not least because even when they won that series, the joke is, and I'm serious, it might be the first time I ever saw a team win a series 2-1 when they actually lost 0-3. Do you get the joke? Like, that, you get no points for that series, Fnatic. Like, I'll even give slight points to BDS, even though they lost. Like, they took time. And by the way, just look at those two rosters. You know that fucking meme of Old Spice back in the day? It's like, look at your husband. Back to me. Look at your husband. Back to me. Look at fucking BDS's roster. Back to the Fnatic one. BDS's soul winners. Back to Fnatic's. BDS's jungle support. Back to Fnatic's. It's BDS and you're Fnatic. What are we even doing here? If you don't know Nuke gives out throws for free in the playoffs. He is like fucking Oprah/Santa Claus. This motherfucker, he's so generous. It's unbelievable. Like this every time, mate. Listen. The joke is, if you had your money on Nuke and like gun to your head, and you get 6 chances at playing Russian roulette, somehow every single chamber would have a bullet in and kill you all 6 times. I don't know how. Listen, never bet on this guy with your life on the line. It doesn't even make sense, bro. It doesn't even make sense. Spoiler, Striker's done it many times. How did it work out for him? Dead, of course, metaphysically. R.I.P. So let's just do this Fnatic conversation, mate, because what the fuck is going on right now? Like, bro, normally I get disappointed. And normally I banter people, I roast them. I'm actually like mildly angry at how shit Fnatic is right now, bro. It's actually because it wasn't supposed to. By the way, Karmine Corp, that beating you just took was never even supposed to occur. You were never supposed to meet Karmine Corp in G2 in these playoffs. Fnatic was supposed to be there. And at that point in time, like, it's all good. You can just come third and then we all go and build on that for next split. You actually kind of got boosted into that like Mad Lion spot from winter last year. Was like, you're never supposed to be in the finals. So Fnatic has to take some criticism here, bro. Where are we going? Where are we starting?
The main thing is like, let's look at the positive first. Oscarinin, he dragged them. True. He fucking dragged them. I have to say, his Cassandra game, Poppy game, like he was the rock, bro. He was the guy who dragged them over the finish line. I think that he had a good like regular split and he was solid, but Oscarinin like fucking carried these bums. He really did, bro. The Cassandra game, the moves he did, the Poppy too. I just it's nice to see that side from Oscarinin. But in terms of where Fnatic is, this shit looks way too similar to last year's. Way too similar. This just is scary. You know, the crazy thing about that series too is just that game 2, it's like they were like 6-5k goals ahead. It should have been just over. And then Humanoid just gets caught on the Yone and they just give up kills, and there's just no structure to the way they play. And it just kind of breaks the illusion of, that their newcomers have in any shape or form changed the core of what Fnatic has been like for the last, what is it? This is the 3rd year now. It's like the same thing appear. It's like you had the G2 series already. You had Razork being over eager on the engages, like going way too far. This one in particular, where you see like Mickey just over posturing, dying, doing things that he did at his worst in G2. Fnatic having very little cohesions and also just looking like so stressed. Like it's always the same thing, right? Like I do think from a coaching side too, is that you really don't get to know your players or what your dynamic can do until they're put under the pressure of elimination. And I do think that, like, I have faith in Grabs and also Mickey to be able to look at it from the point of view of maybe being able to step out of this. But the core still remains the same in Oscarinin and also, of course, Razork and Humanoid. This looked just far too similar to what we've seen. And that part is just so scary because it just removes, it's like now you let go of the luggage of the last year in the first initial games and it looked good. But now I'm beginning to think, it's like, bro, Fnatic looked good in regular splits in the past. Noah's opening split looked really fucking good in the regular split. And now the luggage, you kind of shed it, and that skin, you shed it. But now I'm adding that shit back on because it looks way too similar. So now the concern will still be there for me. It's like there was the question of G2 and the Fnatic series where like Upset was sick and he's a big voice on that. But now this time around, it's like he was recovered. It's like, what does it take now? So I listening to Grabs and he was obviously like really fucking disappointed with that series. And on a different day, they would lose that one against BDS out of all teams. I don't know how Fnatic kind of bounce back from this because now even making the run to the finals looks fucking difficult. Because even though KC lost out against G2, I do think, for example, game 2, KC looked fucking good. It's like the moves that the Ike did in order to win, like the Drake 2 fight where like Q flashed with Vi and just found the engage, and G2 looking very uncomfortable on the draft, even though they were super winning. Like KC have hands, like they showed it. I'm not going to just because G2 had such a good preparation, I'm not going to put that onus on them that it's necessary for KC to be like on the G2 level in order to beat Fnatic and of course Koi. Now the big question is, can Fnatic even make it to the finals? Because already this is going to be like quite difficult. It's like you're going to be playing elimination match after elimination match after elimination match. Most of the time in the past, you got very far in these in the league because through comfort, through no elimination, and you got there. But now elimination after elimination, how are you gonna do? I'm waiting because now that luggage is back on you, Fnatic.
I also agree. Everyone except Oscarinin has to get it in this segment. Like, first of all, like, here's the thing. The scoreboard will tell you Upset carried the games. There was times where he just got gifted like kills and got back into the game where it's just at the end because they won the score, got run up, and he's the fucking ADC. Then you've got to look at like Humanoid. Mate, like I said about Nuke, Nuke was never some like god laner anyway, and he definitely threw a whole bunch of games and some illegal fucking builds. Humanoid, like, he had a fucking game where, like, Poppy out-damaged him, mate. Like, what? Like, this guy also looked a bit sus, but here's the thing. The two biggest names for me at the moment are the jungle support. They're supposed to be the generational talents. Both also look like frauds. Mickey X, for real, looked like he's going to be in fucking therapy about this fucking series in this last week for, like, the next 2 years. He looked traumatized. And, bro, I want to ask you, as someone who coached Razork, this is an angle I had on Razork after the G2 series. Is like, I think he takes too much burden on himself. I even think he does that thing where, because it's, if you notice, the only time Razork chokes is in the most important games. That's where it all gets to him. You put him in a normal game, he's a demon. He's one of the best to ever play in the LEC. I even think sometimes he is the best player in the LEC, better than Caps even, because like his raw impact on a game, impossible. He can just win you a whole game. He close your whole game out, win the whole mid game for you, dominate the enemy jungler, fuck up all the lane. His impact is so huge, but as you say, it's never that he just like what's normally if people choke, normally they actually hesitant to do something. They step back, they're a bit more cowardly, they can't play. He always overextends. It's always like he goes too far. It's almost like he feels like when things are going badly, he has to be the one to like fix the problem or something. What do you think of the Razork situation?
I think that Razork as a player, I think his reaction to other people underperforming is the wrong one. I think that it always occurred that if Fnatic in some shape or form were collapsing in some avenues, then it's exactly the way you're saying, is that he takes too big of a responsibility of himself and he's trying to make something out of nothing, as if he needs to put himself in a position to make the game-winning play. It was the case in the previous roster, right, where you had the underperformance issues from Noah in particular, right, as things went on, and also at the World Championship, there was like a lot of everything was visible through Legends in Action. They were very, very like raw in terms of how they like presented that, right? And I do think that Razor's reaction to his teammates maybe giving him a certain energy, I think he reads it wrong. And he tries to break the game when you can't do so against, of course, teams that are going to play well and prep well. And I think that's where it always falls. I think when things flow, Mickey and Razork, they are very, very good feeling players. It's like they do things that other players won't do. But in the pursuit of that, when other things don't fall into place and the enemy has more structure, these are players that are going to look so fucking bad on their worst, because they are just dancing at the edge of a cliff. And I think when it comes to this team, I don't know if that whole segment where like Upset is a voice on the team and then he had to cover that slack and then he noticed like situations that maybe didn't feel like they were in control, so he tried to take the control upon himself. I believe that this would be like the state of mind, because I know Razork, like it was always like that first split. I remember when they played in winter, when they had like Reckless and Rux and so forth, like everyone was clowning on Humanoid and Razork because they were fighting 2v2 on mid lane in situations that just looked bad and they were dying. From that point of view, like I could understand it, because they just saw, oh shit, like our bot lane can't play. We need to fucking do something radical in order to win this. We need to draft 2v2 mid, and if they are stronger and enemy support is there, we're just going to lose. So we're just going to try something. But that mindset is just kind of like stuck with it maybe a little bit too long. It's like sometimes you see in people, it's like they come up from the struggle, you know? It's like they come up from the struggle. Like I have a lot of friends like this, they come up from the struggle, but they miss the struggle. It's like everything is good. It's like, chill, bro. You have a house, you have a nice car. It's like, no, I'm still in the war in my mind, you know? And I feel like that's a part of it with Razork, you know? He needs to let that go. Like in terms of like play, it's like he needs to like learn from someone like Inspired, because he's so in the opposite direction, you know? It's like both really, really strong players in their respect, but Inspired is very, very clever in his economy, and is very, very like doesn't take risk, waits for opportunities. It's like he's so good in terms of never using ultimate on something like a kill when the enemy already needs to base and the next objective is in 1 minute. He's not going to like overreach, overextend, and just plays solid over and over again. While Razork is the guy that is going to find a play that the Inspired would never, because he doesn't want to take that risk, right? And I think Razork just needs to take a page out of that book and really let go of his demons of the past, because I do think that those initial years and working with Noah definitely is with him. And that's why I mentioned, you know, it's like I'm putting that luggage from the past years back on you, because that's how it looks like. And the question now is if Mickey and of course Upset and Grabs can reach and reach through and kind of find a breakthrough, because at the end of the day, it's like if we want to look at it from the side of optimism, still really fucking good players. Generational fucking best jungle and support duo on paper in terms of the potential that should be. So if they get it together, I'll be very, very impressed. Would I be surprised? Nah, this is still a very, very strong roster. But I wouldn't be surprised either if they just fall flat and they just continue the journey that Fnatic's been on for many years now.
I know what you mean on the Razork point. It's actually one of the reasons why I do think that if you wanted a player to have the best possible career, not just for early results, you should put them on a very good team where they get like great players who help carry them or help like work with them or develop them, etc. Because if you have to start at the absolute bottom of the barrel, like you're saying, like somebody came out the ghetto, part of you can never get rid of that mindset unless you really actively work on it. Like, by the way, I've always said one of the reasons why Forgiven was the way he was is because, think about it, his early teammates for the first like 1.5 teams was somewhat shit. So when he would be like screaming at them or not trusting them, he was right too. He has no chance to win if he plays like unselfishly and picks Sivir and lets them carry the game on a mid lane fucking LeBlanc pick. Like that wouldn't win a game back then. But his problem was he kept that mentality going. I've always said the moment I broke with Forgiven was H2K, because then I was like, mate, you've already got the best teammates in Europe. Like if Jankos ain't good enough for you, nor do I ain't good enough for you, mate. No one is. Like, just because the other guy won in the game, you think he doesn't have any of those problems in his team in G2 or something like that. They do. You just don't get it because you're still focused on the idea you're never going to have enough help, enough teammates. You can't trust anyone. And at the end of the day, at the ultimate level, teamwork by definition is trusting people, is empowering them, is sometimes sacrificing for them, or even like being able to be like responsible, like how to carry for your team, not just for yourself. So I think Upset's had a similar problem. If you ever look at Upset, I think the real effect of those 10th places wasn't that like he sucks at the game. He's still got great mechanics. He puts in his hours. He comes in the series confident. It's that, bro, when things go badly, I told you, he's got one foot out the door. When things go badly, he's ready to walk out of that team fight. Because it's just been beaten into him. Like, I just lose. Like, I've got two choices. I go out and I sort of do a bit of damage and I don't look good, but I don't look the worst. Or I go in and I die like everyone else. Everyone clowns on me that I have like 0-5-7 scoreline in the game, and then I'm just a dickhead. Either way, it's like, fuck it, at this point in time, like, yeah, mate, I'll wait until people, I can trust them, essentially. So I do think you get trust issues like that. And Razork himself came from the bottom and he came through some scuffed rosters. And I still think people won't like this take, but I just want to see one day here's the obvious thing I want to see. One day, please, can Caps and Razorks play together? Can I just see what it's like? Can I see if suddenly that just fixes half of these issues and all of a sudden there isn't this like thing in the back of your head where I've got to push the pressure, I've got to make something happen in the game, I've got to claw something back, I've got to do the worst one. I'll just say this right now. I actually think one of the worst things he has, and it can't just be coaches, bro, because he had he had fucking Nightshare, he had the fucking Crusher, now he has Grabs. He's had every spectrum of coach and every type of coach and every background. And this guy does something where it's like, the one area I don't like that I think he is not aggressive enough in is the draft, Yamato. He will let them draft him champions that don't enable his skill set. He will be the good teammate that goes drafted onto something that's not going to win the game. You know what I mean? If I'm him, this is a point I made to all the ego superstars, Forgiven, Simple. I told them, listen, I'm with you. You're the best player in the team. They should play around you. But if you do that, it comes with the responsibility. Then if you lose, it's on you. But if you can accept that, then we can, in a respectful way, tell the teammates, play the game for me. So in CS, you drop me the AWP. I'm Simple, for fuck's sake. Who cares if you have a gun or not? I'll win us the game. In fact, me saying I'll win us the game, I'm promising you there's a trade here. I don't just get the AWP and then I'll lose and we all look like shit, but I look better inside the AWP. So this analogy, sometimes I do think they do global meta drafts in Fnatic that on paper makes sense if you watch LCK. And it's like, yeah, the difference is that's what we would play in the LPL, mate. You're fucking Razork. Like, you should be on the shit that can win the game. So sometimes I do think also that's the one area he's a bit timid for me. I want him to stop the ego there, you know. You are the best.
To follow up on that, it's like the one time they beat G2 was with the Nidalee Game 5. Like that was him taking the reins, you know. It's like playing into that is definitely like a strategy that is worthy to explore. It's like the meta in LEC in particular is very Maokai Vi centered, but there is like definitely like room to explore because, you know, you do see players like Lucid, you see like globally. Like I would say that's more of an European thing rather than like a Korean thing, because if they looked over it in Korea, you could see like, bro, or LPL, you could see like all these champions and what wide of a range that there is there to of course capitalize on, because there's like Lilia and Nidalee and all these champs that are of course being played, but it just requires your teammates to like play around you. So I do have a sympathy. I have a sympathy for that problem because I tried to put it together with Bo too, and we did play like a lot of Viego, Lilia, and all that jazz, but there's a lot of things that kind of hold you back from piecing it together. But I definitely agree that that's something that they should explore because of that. Nidalee mentioned that I dropped. Looking at Fnatic, It's like where they go from here. It's like they face Koi. It's like Koi has balls, bro. Like this is a team that has balls. Like balls in the sense is like if they catch you slipping, they will beat you. They're not going to be like fearful in a situation. I think Elioya is playing super well. Like the biggest strength always the Koi roster has shown to me is that they have the confidence to beat underperformers. That was the story of last year. It's like you need to. It's a competition. It's a race. You're running, and I don't feel like Koi is a team that ever like slows down for whatever reason. It's like they seem to be very resilient with what they're going through. Jojo Pune is a big question mark because it's like his performance has been up and down, but Koi could definitely beat an underperforming Fnatic. And if Fnatic feels like their backs are against the wall, I feel like that's where the Koi team is at their best. It's like they are excited in the underdog position to find opportunities and they play cohesively. And I think it's very clear that Koi has a sense of identity. And that's where I think that's where Fnatic is lacking, even though on paper they are better. There is an upset opportunity for Koi here in the first best of 5 matchup that is coming.
First of all, we're not even going to talk about best BDS on this show because the way that they actually threw games in these playoffs and they're out, you don't get to have a fucking segment. You haven't earned it. You actually blew that. You threw the segment. I'm going to do the RE Gold. Like, get the fuck out. You are just out. You're done. You're donezo, mate. I don't give a fuck that technically you played something like, what was it? Like, you played something like 5 games and you won 4 of them, but then you lost them in real life. Like, again, get the fuck out. Like, the game of League of Legends is about closing, mate. Like, this is what it is. So, you didn't close, but it is closing time for you. Last drink. Get in the fucking street where you belong and beg for pennies, you actual bomb pauper piece of shit team. Nuke, mate, what are you doing? Never mind the idea you're building a dynasty. You can't even build a mid lane champion, bro. Like, you are fucking trashed here. You ever talk to me on Twitter? Mate, I am 100 times better at my job than you are at your job. Understand that. You are just at this point in time a good French mid laner. That's it. I didn't even say good LEC mid. You're just a good French player. That's it. So...
Well, I have to say though, bro.
Au revoir. Let's do them on the kind. Here's the thing though. I'm going to get edgy. Koi hasn't showed me anything yet, mate. They received a free throw from BDS in that game. They would have been in trouble otherwise. They beat GX, who, by the way, again, no, we're not talking about you either, GX. Fucking trash. Showed us absolutely nothing here. I can't give you too much credit for it. So everyone's going to be down on Fnatic. You know what? Now is when I will be edgy. Now is when I will reveal myself to the Jedi. I am the secret Fnatic fan all along. It was me all along, Austin. It was me all along. The corporation was Vince McMahon all along. My references are all 20 years old. You have to understand that. Even the ones to wrestling. I haven't even watched wrestling in about 10, 15 years. So what you need to know is this. Yeah, everything's going well for Koi. They're looking great. Oh, Fnatic, they're almost out. Mate, the thing about studs, like the players in Fnatic, is it's exactly when you think you've got them pinned against the wall and they're about to take that final shot and go down. That's when they can just out of nowhere get that uppercut that knocks you the fuck out. I'm going to take Fnatic. Fnatic beats Koi, mate. I don't know if they can beat Carmine Corp. That one, I actually feel like Carmine Corp themselves got to look bad against G2, but I think will look fabulous against everyone else. I'd love to see that matchup, by the way. I actually think Fnatic will find a way to beat Koi, and here's why. The 2 people I called out earlier, Humanoid and Razork, in terms of the mainstays of Fnatic, bro, it's all on you. You are aware, if you 2 outperform Jojo Pune and Elyoya, there is no Koi. Koi's whole shit has to be around how those players play, about Elyoya being able to control things, about him opening up the bot lane, etc. If you beat those 2 people, you can win this series. You can be in that 3rd place match. And by the way, if you come 3rd, in like how the playoffs have gone, that's not bad actually. It's nothing compared to what it should have been. You should have been in the final or winning it before. When you have to we have to readjust expectations. I'm with you. If you can make it to 3rd, that's something. That's at least that's hope for next season. Again, when we move out of Fearless, you can just mind fuck yourself. Okay, we'll be good on the meta champion. If you go out here, I don't care that you beat BDS. That doesn't really mean anything, mate. Like, if you go out at this point in time, you are a laughing stock. Like, you did just interweigh the whole fucking playoffs. You look like a joke. So I'm interested to see that one. Because I can see the potential in Koi, but they're another team. They're the same as Fnatic. You were both supposed to be the teams that were a 9 out of 10 from week 1. Why are you having any problems at this point in time? You know what I mean? Like, if I'm still waiting now for Koi to fully get it all together, not against GX, for fuck's sake, I don't know when it's going to happen, mate.
And the main thing for me,
Go
No,
on.
it's like the main thing for me is just like if there's an edge that Koi has, it's just psychology. That's like the only angle. It's like, like if somehow Fnatic lose out is because they have lost against themselves and they've lost because they are staring down the barrel of elimination. They are just carrying too much baggage from previous years and it's just coming into the series in a way that just like they just play with fear. I think that Koi definitely, it's like they gameplay wise they haven't shown that they are better than Fnatic. I agree. Even though Fnatic in this BDS series was really disgusting, if Fnatic plays like that, it's definitely like beatable for Koi. But I expect Fnatic to just do better in a series that goes longer, and playing against Koi is of course a different thing. Koi for me, I do think it's like in terms of what they've shown, my biggest question mark still is like I was very excited about the Georgia Pune signing, but Georgia Pune has not looked good enough at all in my mind. I think that he has underperformed heavily and he is not up to par in terms of where I would place my own like expectations. I think the midway looks solid. I think Elioya looks good. Like when he drops the Nidalee, the Alvaro Elioya engine is there and they can make some stuff happen, but they're quite linear in the way they play. I think Fnatic as a team, macro-wise, should be able to just farm sides better because Koi is just textbook like overgroupers. If you play into that, then you're going to lose against Koi. But I do think that Fnatic have like strong enough side lanes to understand how they should manage, of course, their economy. But if there's a hint of choking, if there's a hint of, oh shit, we're elimination, what if we lose this one? What's going to happen? Jesus Christ. If that's the state of mind they're in, Koi is a team that will pounce. They will take you the same way they did last year in winter and steal your final spot against G2. You know, that's just like I think psychologically Koi would, I don't believe this is a team that is fearful. I think that's their biggest strength. Gameplay wise, everything should point against Fnatic. Fnatic should be a heavy favorite, and if they lose this one, it will be like a travesty, bro, on many levels.
If you lose this one, then I don't care anymore. Get the fuck out. You don't deserve to win. Like, at the end of the day, that resilience is part of being a champion. It's the idea that, like, you don't just give up because you fucking lost. Oh, it's going badly and I didn't play well. Well, then maybe you're not a good player then if you can't fucking correct that, you idiot. Like, the whole point is, you're supposed to say, if you're grabs, guys, what's that they got worried about? Yeah, we lost to G2. Everyone's lost to G2. And the difference is we're still alive. It doesn't matter how we played in the last series. We survived it. We're here. And even better news, I've got the best news of all for you guys. Are you ready? It's BO5s now. It's even BO5s on the same weekend. So by the way, we don't even have to worry about what people do to prep against us after the first BO5. Carmine Corp doesn't know if they're playing us. G2 don't know if they're playing us. We're a bunch of Hans players that are all experienced. If we come in, knock this first 3-0-3-1 Koi, then we'll play Carmine Corp. You know what? They're bombed out about how that G2 series went. Upset. You saw what Ant Sama did. We're going to fucking go to town, mate. Take care of them. You know what? We'll worry about G2 when we get to them. We'll worry about that when we get to the finals, boys. These are BO5s. The other ones are BO3. You see how ropey BO3s are in general. Like, there's a lot of playing swings and one throw decides the whole series. No, I'm with you. I think it's going to be good. Right? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to play a little video for the viewer questions. We're going to do a bunch of viewer questions to end, and so we'll be back after that.
Are you tired of browsers that just eat up your RAM and just no customization options at all? Do you feel trapped in a relationship with an old and slow browser because you've just used it for so long and all your bookmarks and settings and all that jazz is just all in that same place and it just feels so overwhelming to move on? Well, no worries. Opera GX has got you covered. You didn't install it. Boom, you use the link below. Easy peasy. You press the setting button. Even a bronze player could do this. Are you smarter than the bronze player? Show it. You scroll down, boom. You find the import bookmarks and settings button. You click it, choose your browser, import. You can select the items to import. Boom. All of a sudden, you're up to speed and your new life can begin. Now you can use all of the unique features, of course, of Opera GX. The first one that comes to mind is, of course, the Riot Corner. The Riot Corner is something you're going to unlock if you use one of the mods that are, of course, League of Legends related. You scroll down and all the info that you need in regards to any major event that's going on will be here. The last one, of course, was Worlds 2024. You see the calendar, you see all the matches, you can click them and watch them, and you'll be up to speed with anything that is going on, of course, in the global league landscape. You scroll down, you also see the co-streamers. Look at this handsome devil and this beautiful cat. You click this one, of course. I won't judge you. If you click anything else, maybe I will. Nevertheless, the GX store has a bunch of mods that you can, of course, use to customize your experience. Let me show you how easy it is. Renata Glask, one of my favorite champions, install mod. Let's see how this looks like. Simple press of a button. Boom, everything changes. New tab noise. Keyboard sounds. The beautiful background of Renata looking over Zone. If, for some reason, you want to mix and match and you want to make it your own, you can do so, of course, in the mod hub. You just press the interface, you pick and choose. You can do fonts, app icons, themes, wallpapers. You can do sounds, keyboard sounds, browser sounds, background music. Anything to, of course, your liking, because Opera GX is truly your browser. So what are you waiting for? Make sure to use, of course, the link in the description below to support the channel and to, of course, also download Opera GX. It comes pre-packed with all of these league features. Make your browser truly, truly yours today. Thank you, Opera GX, for, of course, supporting this content.
Right, we're back for the final segment of the show, which is, of course, the infamous viewer questions. You become a viewer not by watching the show, but by being a paid subscribing viewer. So you subscribe to the Last Nation Discord. Then there is a channel in there called SI-Questions where you submit your questions. We don't have to answer your question. We pick from them, but we answer them if they're interested, and usually if we've got time. By the way, you also get the perk that you can ask questions for the Four Horsemen, and also you can submit hot takes of your own to Hot Take Point Made. I can tell you the upcoming episode has a fan-generated hot take. Now, again, for that one, it's different from SI Questions. We don't do all of them. We just pick one hot take. So some of them are just never going to get that. It's like entering a contest for that one. Not everyone's going to be picked. So we will go to the questions now. And obviously, thanks to anyone who does support the business by subscribing and submitting questions and making this section really fun. So let's go back a bit. Let's see. It's up to you what you say about this, right? Big Boy asks, what kind of esports circuit do you think this game will have in 10 years?
Oh shit, bro! I would expect it to move in the direction that you mentioned. I think that the fan base and the player base and the money will just be concentrated in few, and eventually we would have a super league into death. I do think it would move in that direction, because I think that the league structure will be like a little bit more rare, and they'll like resort back into the tournament structure, and then I think everything dies, and then grassroots will build it again, or the game will die. I think it will move in that direction eventually, because it's happening already, right? It's like LTA is being concentrated, LCP is getting concentrated, and Korea, China, it's like China had issues because of not winning Worlds last year, and the viewership is dwindling, right? LEC, it's like the reasons why the leagues are thriving are random and not controllable, so it's very, very hard to know where things are going. And then not to start with the fucking game direction too. It's like everyone's fucking angry at League of Legends. People are not playing League of Legends. So the investment from Riot side will also most likely over time be less. So.
Oh, by the way, we'll just do a brief segment on it now while I remember. We didn't actually do the lane swap thing. So it doesn't have to be like a huge 40-minute thing. But what are your thoughts on this attempt to like hard stop the lane swap? I mean, I thought the funniest thing of all is that now they're literally telling you like on the screen, like, leave this lane now. Like bro, it's like living in Germany. I've got some fucking guy who's like some rules lawyer. Like, excuse me, sir, you're going 21.4 miles per hour in a 20 zone with no one here at 4 a.m. It's like, oh, bro, just let me go on this one. Like, what do you think of this attempt to force lane swap not to exist?
Bro, I think the solution is so unelegant, because I do think that they made it easier with the turret changes, right? And I do think that the extended lane swaps were already cut from the game. I think they should have just nerfed it. My suggestion, like, because I spoke with Riot Froxon back at like when Worlds was in London last year, I spoke to him. I was like, well, why don't you just make the XP different? It's like, oh, it's too awkward of a change. We're trying to find a different solution. And now they reached a conclusion that we're just going to kill it completely, and then we're going to find a more elegant way to do it. This is very unelegant. And then also it's just way too heavy-handed, because it's like you don't get XP, the turret completely fucking one-shots you, and also on top of that, like I figured out ways to swap anyway. You can do it into mid to avoid the matchup, because the shield goes off earlier. You can send mid lanes into top, and you can like restructure how you do that. You can maybe do something crazy where you like invade very early and then you proxy the wave on tier 3 just to avoid the matchup, and that's something that you could do. Like that's a strategy that we've seen in some places where you proxy the wave really deep because that's outside of those circles. So it's like players will find a way to still trick the game, but I honestly think it was a healthy thing for the game. Because Dom had a very good take where Fearless is out, Laneswap is going to be out. You're going to have the most obnoxious lanes being played over and over again. It's going to be like this fucking circle of who is going to be able to pick the most disgusting lane bot to pressure you and dive you under the turret to invade the Heimerdingers and the Varus supports. Maybe Riot can nerf those because they did right with the support item changes, but it is going to be very, very skewed towards bottom lane gameplay and like really, really hard winning lanes because that's what it's all about. It's like Hansama Gumayushi are gonna make a resurgence, like Hansama already did, but Gumayushi would come back and play as Caitlyn, Draven, Kalista, and have a good time. So I think it kind of brought more diversity to the game, the fact that you could lane swap and avoid the first 3 minutes of the game, because that really defines so many champions, so many junglers. So I think the world is in for a little bit of a shock if lane swaps are removed, which obviously they are.
I think it's actually garbage because, first of all, it goes against the principle Riot claimed for like probably at least 5 years, if not more. They used to claim we don't set the meta of how the game works. In fact, if you remember in the old days, the reason why they never had role-locked positions in solo queue and people could fuck up your draft is because they used to say we don't even acknowledge there are roles. We don't acknowledge there is a jungle role or a mid lane role. In theory, the players make the game, which is, it's a sandbox you are playing in. So that's obviously a lie because they've now repeatedly killed lanes. So it's like 4 times or something in League of Legends. Then secondly, I'll just repeat because I thought it was the funniest. Listen, it was obviously just supposed to be a throwaway pithy comment. I thought Sven had the funniest remark to it. He said like something like, what next? They just like shoot bot laners in the head in real life if they go top lane or something. Like, bro, that is the next step. Like, how far are we going to go on this? Like, what next? Do we have to have electrodes hooked up to our nuts and we get charged every fucking 30 seconds that we're in top lane until we leave like a fucking animal or something, like an electric fence or something? What are we doing at this point in time? Like, it's just so stupid, isn't it? At this point in time, you know what? I've got your new solution, Riot. Right, in the base, it's not an open base. Each person starts literally in a lane that's segmented off from the others inside the base, and bot laners can only walk into their lane, and all junglers have Talon ability to jump over walls, so you can only flash down into the lane or jump over. The joke is that is a shit thing I just came up with on the fly, and it's actually almost better than your actual application of what you've done of like Ed 209 from fucking RoboCop, like, please leave the lane. You have 30 seconds to comply. 30 seconds before tower shot, 1 shot in here. What are you doing? Like, this is fucking whack. This is whack. This is whack. And then also, that ties into what will League look like in 10 years? Bro, if there is League in 10 years, then God bless, because I don't know what will have to happen at that point in time for it still to be around. This is where I think Riot, one, never understood the golden goose they had. I think they have shifted all their focus to Valorant and other bollocks, new game, fighting games. Yeah, you're going to be better than Street Fighter and Smash Brothers Melee, you fucking idiots. Of course you aren't. So you're making all this other shit. So you think, hey, we can do everything I touch turns to gold, says man who made one product that was made of gold so far, that he copied off Dota. And then secondly, the fact that they haven't done it yet, Yamato, tells me they never will. They'll never do what even Counter-Strike did. You keep the franchise going by bringing out a new variation of the game with an updated engine. Bro, that engine needed to come out like 7 years ago, 5 years ago. Bro, even if it was 3 years ago, it might be too late. It's too late now. It's probably over now. Like, it doesn't even sound like they're even working on it, mate. They're not even trying to make League of Legends 2 as far as I can tell. So I don't know how the game survives then. You can't really be that old. You can't be a game from 2009 in like 2030. How's that going to fucking work? That would be like us playing Doom 1 now.
It's just so damn difficult, bro. Like, how many skins are in the game? Like fucking 5,000 skins are in the game. Like they're gonna release a new engine, and then some poor guy is gonna like fucking just draw all the skins again. We just need to wait for AI to become strong enough, and people to get over like that hump. That people are against AI now, but it's sadly just inevitable because capitalism. Like we are like people are gonna be in the interest of saving money and paying less for things. Maybe at that point, when AI can generate all the sprites and the particles that are needed, maybe then it will be released in Unreal Engine 6 or something. Who knows? But now it's like, bro, like it's just the problem of size, bro. It's always a problem of size, and now it's like with the hit they've taken in the PR front too. It's like moving, like ushering in the next game. It's like just because like the Riot stamp just brought in such a big crowd in the first place, but will it continue now with the PR hit that they took? I just saw like while we were in the break, I saw that the Riot released like a new video about like a dev update, and I do think that it's like the Hextech chests are coming back, but the timing is just awful because you can't fucking watch it because it's 4 minutes long. But I think the chests are coming back. I think so.
Right, this is a question for you. An intense focus on a single goal can obscure the small but essential details that sustain progress, causing the very habits that led to success to fade. In pursuing one thing, this is fucking too long already. We lose. Basically, like, what are the problems when people practice for MSI in Worlds? What do you think the pitfalls are?
I do think the pitfalls are very similar to the pitfalls that you can fall into when new patches come into play, and it's just a question of like how you judge data. It's like moving to a new environment. There's like obviously challenges in terms of like logistics, but I guess this is more like related to performance and finding your peak again. I do think that when you find your peak, you need to break down what you do because your habits have only gotten you so far. So you need to like perform worse in the aspiration of finding new peaks because you need to break down. It's like your habits that have gotten you to that point is also the thing that might be holding you back. So there's an element of that. But usually the challenge is when you go into the World Championship and you practice against the best of the best, so you begin to question everything that you do because they have a certain way of doing things and you're losing actively. And in that process, do you fall into the idea of, oh shit, it's like, we need to adjust to them because this just obviously is just performing better? Or do we need to stick to what we're doing and just kind of go through the storm? Always what it comes down to is players and coaches, you get data from so many different environments, and how you interpret that data is so essential. Players play solo queue. I don't know how many times I have had players come in and just, bro, I played this against the champion in solo queue. It's so broken. We need to play it. Like that has happened 10 times a day at a minimum because they get like information from somewhere and they bring that to the team. You lose a stage match and then all of a sudden you want to drop something. It happened in KC in the last team that we practiced the whole week playing via Rakan. We didn't find the execution and then we pivoted mid-weekend to something else because we thought we could solve the problem of that one game we played by pivoting in a different direction. But in all honesty, I look back at that and it's like, yo, we should just fucking slam Virakan and play it because we had success with it in practice, and we shouldn't have let that one example like move us in a different direction. But then again, if it worked to pivot, then I would say different. So everything becomes this idea of like, are you going to fall into the results? What is the data that is important to you? And what has actually like brought you success? And I think the main thing that teams need to do always is have a foundation for what you believe is good and be so damn robust in terms of challenging ideas and where they come from. Understand why you do something, and if you want to change doing that, it needs to come from good places, because bad places are all over the place in terms of what information you're allowed to influence yourself. So you need to go into that World Championship and remember what got you to that point, and at the same time, just navigate that data that comes at you, because that's the challenge also for the Korean teams or the Chinese teams. It's like Hanwha Life ended up falling on the Y side together with GenG. They played Ahri when everybody else, Bilibili and T1, started playing Sylas into Ahri. And then when Sylas was picked, they had the Gali already. They evolved with times and they decided to stick with their guns. And those moments, that's what challenges in the end. It's like, are you going to trust your gut? And if so, is your gut right? That's like the main challenge.
Right, the number one thing I would like to do if I was a coach is if you go to a Worlds boot camp and you play against Koreans and Chinese teams, I would literally tell people you aren't there to compete. You're not there to win any scrims at all. You are only there to improve and to figure out what works for your team. You're not there to find some weird draft angle that beats them in one scrim that you might not even be able to use on stage. You're not there to like fucking think, oh, because we lost this game, none of these picks work. They don't work. No, I would just say the whole thing there is just to improve. No one cares about the scrim record. We're not even going to fucking keep track of it. We're just going to fucking play these teams. It's going to be the ultimate test. We're going to figure out what does work for us, what we can work with, and then we're going to take that and then we're going to compete in the tournament. Who cares if we win a scrim? We're going to win the tournament matches. Right. By the way, I'm just going to say, I don't control the questions and when they get deleted. So I'm going to hope someone really did come and purge the questions from last time. Because some of them I'm sure I remember, but I don't know if I asked them. So if I end up asking the same question twice, that's not on me. I've done like a 4-hour podcast and I do hundreds of podcasts. So I can't remember every question answered. So Imak asks, I've heard Thorin make a few WWE references over the past few weeks. Do you pay attention to anything happening now? I don't. Do you watch WWE?
Nah, those just growing up, bro. Growing up, Big Show, Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, that was my jam, bro. Like 20 years ago, same as you mentioned. Then Raw versus SmackDown, this was the real shit, bro. Before all the horrific things happened, you know, Chris Benoit and whatever. That was there. I watched. I have scars and shit from me and my friends just fucking doing fucked up shit. You know, you had like those round webcams. Someone was like filming. I remember like I fucking got power bombed into the floor, and I went home to my father. It's like if I told my father what that happened to me, my father's the type of guy to like take the closest like stick and like walk outside and fucking try to find whoever did this to me. So I always lied. You know, when I came home, I fell. It's like I was bleeding from places. I fell over. And that was always the angle.
No, as I'm saying with you, it's just what people who are Zoomers now will never understand is we didn't live in a world of a million media options. So everyone watched the same things. There was only limited channels even. So not only in the 90s was wrestling huge, it was also one of the first ways American culture came into Europe if you were a kid, as well as video games. But also, I remember even in the early 2000s, when I would go to like a pub in the UK, sometimes in like the pub, they might just at like 11 p.m. show like SmackDown or whatever was live on TV. Look, it might have the volume muted, but it might just be on like a TV and just watched it like lol. So wait there a second. I don't, mate, he's dropping something there. I don't give a fuck. It's viewer questions now. I'm not doing any more of some of the insight bits. Don't bother updating me. If something didn't happen before the show, it didn't happen. That's it. We're not addressing it. But live breaking news. I don't give a flying fuck. Shove it up your ass. So it's all good. That's for next week. Listen, mate, I know what I need to do to get my shit done. So we're going to go to the next question. The next question.
I brought it up, so it's my bad.
It's the people, you have to understand, the people who don't pay us anything but are in Twitch chat actually think we're doing the show for their benefit and they're like the high roller in the strip club and we have to dance for them. You're not even giving us any of the money. The high roller gives us fucking hundreds, bro. So let me know when you fund the show and then maybe I'll listen to you guys. But back to the people who actually pay for the show, the people who subscribe to the Discord. Average Thorin enjoyer. A question for Thorin more than Yamato, but you are going to weigh in on this. So this is based on a 4Play episode recently about the film Troy. He says, is Orlando Bloom your least favorite actor? Whichever way you end up on that, is there any performance from him in a movie you like? That makes me wonder how this question was possible to be asked, because you'd have to have watched the episode of Troy 4Play, which is on the LFN Culture channel, to know why I think Orlando Bloom sucks. And within that, I explain which films he has good performances in. So one, he's actually not bad in the film Troy, because he plays sort of a sniveling little bitch who's just like good looking, but doesn't particularly have any backbone. So pretty much, I think he was born to play that role. And then obviously I'll say in Lord of the Rings he was good, because I actually think that character is just almost like a fucking Mimbo, isn't he? It's just like a fucking, there's nothing going on in his head. He's just a beautiful looking athletic elf guy who's not even the most like best character of the elves. There's ones with like Elrond and Galadriel, they have way more depth, etc. So I think he just, but I'll tell you what, when they then forced him into the fucking Hobbit, where he had to play a way more nuanced role and he's all looking off into the distance and emoting, he's fucking garbage. He's actually trash. Is he my least favorite actor? This is where I'm sorry, you are a pleb. Because the reason you are a fucking pleb is the idea any famous person is the worst at anything. Grow up, kid. Everyone's not a fraud and washed. Like, no, the worst actor would be some guy who appeared for one scene and went, "Oh, bye, Missy. I can't believe the time. My train is leaving," and then left, and that's it. He's the worst actor ever. Like, Orlando Bloom's just a very bad, famous actor, isn't he? Not even close to the worst actor of all time, is he? First of all, I've seen, I could make a joke about porn there, but I won't. Whatever. You can fill in the blanks. You can see where I was going to go on that one. There you go.
This homie, like he was in the movies I grew up on, so like back then I didn't judge acting, whatever. Like he was a part of fucking Pirates of the Caribbean, fucking Lord of the Rings. So it's like, for me, it's just I associate him with nostalgia on my end. So I have no like concept of how good he is. It was so random. Like I watched some random movie on Netflix that came out about like a sim racer that was put in a car, and he just showed up there. I was like, what the fuck? Where did he come from? Like he needs money now? Because I kind of, what I liked about him was that he did his movies and then just kind of disappeared. And there's so many actors and so many famous people that get so addicted to it and like want to be in the limelight, and like so many stories of how like they just become very, very weird people because managing that at a scale is just completely fucked. But he just went off in the sunset, bro. He just pieced out. And then when I saw him in that movie again, bro, I was just disappointed, man.
All I'm going to say is this. If you look on his Internet Movie Database, his second credited film role was in a film from the 90s, a British film called Wilde, which is about Oscar Wilde, a very famous gay sort of like thinker and philosopher and author. And he plays a character just called Rent Boy, which is a male prostitute. So I'm just going to leave it at that. There you go. That was his best performance. That was the one that he nailed it in. That's the one where, he understood the assignment. Anyway, next question. Wait there a second. I have to turn this fucking shit off so I can read this stupid names. Milkman22. What do you consider your peak accomplishment as a general gamer? It could be beating a single player game fast or without dying, climbing a ranked ladder. What's your single peak achievement? I mean, by the way, Yamato kind of was actual fucking professional player, bro. I don't think it's like, yeah, I completed Super Mario Brothers 3 and everything. I got that fucking the feather. Like, so what was your peak gaming accomplishment? What would it be?
Like from a gameplay side, not esports related, it had to be like there was a moment in time where basically I was rank 1 on the 3v3 ladder, rank 1 on the 5v5 ladder, and I was like top 10 in solo queue. I think probably like as a player, this was like the moment in time where I peaked. Like season 2 and 1, I was always there with the big boys playing league. So probably like this was my personal best, because after it's like reaching challenge in season 3, like it just fucking started dwindling from there, man. It just wasn't ever the same. But I can add, bro, a little side story. Guitar Hero is where I started my esports story. I don't know. Like the first tournament I ever won was in Guitar Hero. Like, I still have the guitar here. And that was my jam, bro. That was my jam. Fucking Guitar Hero. So winning a tournament in Guitar Hero against a guy that was cheating, to be fair. He used like a fucking hairband, and that's just not allowed. But the admins just didn't give a fuck, because it was just like, they just put up a flyer and it's like, here's a tournament. So I beat him. And that's going to be, I'm going to make a show series out of that at one point when I have enough funds to do so, which will be never. So, yeah.
Well, that's actually appropriate that you do play Guitar Hero, because to me, League of Legends as an esport is like Guitar Hero to the real guitar playing of like StarCraft, Brood War, and Quake. So you're just pressing buttons like, oh shit, I'm doing it too. I'm playing the chords. Like, yeah, okay, mate, whatever you say. Like we're real musicians. In terms of my accomplishment, I mean, I've told this story before, but I'll be very brief with it. I'll do a full version one day on my channel. One day, back in the day, 20 years ago, I actually was at a CPL, which were the World Championships of Counter-Strike, but they were open tournaments. And the company I worked for, a team of people just signed up for fun. And then I didn't even play in the first match. I just played in the second match in the lower bracket when we'd like lost already. And then I used someone else's mouse and someone else's keyboard. And like an actual movie, we were playing a team of retired top pros from NA. Some of them had won like CPLs and been like Cal Invite players. We were playing a team with like 3 or 4 of those guys, and the joke is I wasn't using my mouse or my sensor or anything, but because of that, it actually freed my mind, Yamato. It actually made me like transcend limitations, because since I knew I couldn't actually take a straight duel against someone and headshot them, it's not even using my sensitivity, bro. I'm just using something, yeah, that's all right, whatever, let's blow. Because it was just like filling in for the game, like we're going to lose anyway. It meant that in the game, what I did is I learned the secret of competition, which is when you play it in a big tournament, everyone gets nervous. So, bro, even these people who were like legendary players were getting nervous. And if they were in a 1v1, they were actually like fucking up and suddenly they wouldn't shoot you in the head. They'd be spraying or they'd miss or they'd fucking, And so all I did was I just baited and just played like a ton of 1v1s in this game. And like an actual movie, I was winning them all, Yamato. I was just like outthinking these because I had no pressure. I'm not even trying to be fucking pro. It was hilarious. I was actually winning all of them. Our team lost in OT in the end, but whatever. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good story there.
Oh, that's juicy.
Spookin says, what are some examples of great esports storylines with terrible conclusions? He says not limited to League, but you can make them League if you want. What would be a great storyline with a terrible conclusion?
Well, I think of so many runs where teams coming out of LPL, RNG in particular, in terms of like how they have built up the year and the hype that revolves around the World Championship and them coming into it. Something that stands out was like the LGD one where you had like IG rookie, like that the LPL like looked very, very intriguing, was very exciting after like the Uzi years kind of dwindled out a little bit there for a moment. It was like, damn, this hype as fuck, we have a new guard here. And it's like those LPL storylines coming into the World Championship. 2018 also, RNG coming into World after winning MSI, winning 2 splits. It's like, oh shit, these guys are the real deal. Let's take a look at how they're going to play this out. And then somehow these are the teams that give the West hope again, It's a fucking G2 beating RNG, or like LGD losing to TSM that World Championship after God V was so damn good. And those collapses. So FPX is also another good example, like the Nuguri, Doinby, like Tian one, that they looked so exciting coming into that split, and Doinby just had immaculate form and like learning from his gameplay was just amazing. Those LPL storylines are just so damn painful, man.
I'll give you one CS and then a couple of League ones. The CS one would just be, if people don't know the story in 1.6, is you had Mousespots was most of the time the best German team. They had the best money. It's the team everyone wanted to join, etc. It's like Manchester United of German CS, basically. But there was one player who I always thought was the best German player, and he didn't play in Mousespots because in fact, he wouldn't join Mousespots. He always played for their rivals like Attacks, TBH, a bunch of other squads. He was called Roman. And this guy decided, fuck it, you know what? I'll probably just retire in a year from now. So I tell you what, Mouse, finally I'm going to accept your offer. And they made the German super team. It was Mousespots plus this Roman guy. Right out of the gate, they won the European Championships. They beat like Fnatic, SKK, all these like top Swedish teams. And then what happened was that year, they were the team playing Na'Vi, who ended up being the team of the year, really close. Every time they played them, it would be like a close map or a close 3-map series. They could like match up tactically with them. And then quite literally, 3/4 of the way through the year, their star player died in a car crash on the way to the airport to go to an event, and the whole team was busted. Some of the players retired for a year or two or went to lesser teams, and it completely unraveled the whole thing. And you never even got to know, would they have actually, overcome Na'Vi? Would they have beaten the... So that's a real world example one. In League, it's less serious. I'm just going to do narratives like you. I think JDG losing to T1, it's not that they lost to them, bro. It's the way they lost to them. Those last 2 games were so fucking whack the way they played out. Like, that could have been the greatest team of all time. It lost in that way. That kind of sucked. I actually do think G2 2019 is a good one. Bro, those players wake up with so many regrets, because if they could go back in time, they wouldn't do those stupid drafts. They'd just play a normal game and see if they could have won. It was possible, but it was so in their head that FPX were going to beat them and they couldn't do normal things that they did shit like that Pyke draw. Where it's just like, bro, that's the regret you keep for a lifetime. Because unfortunately, you also do want to tell the players, like the Fnatic ones, I'm sure did the same thing. We'll be back there next year. You never get back. That's the problem with being a Westerner. Bro, a few Asian teams make it back to the World's Finals. That was your Super Bowl. You had to win it that time, mate. So I think that's a bomber. And then lastly, I just think it's the greatest example of an ensemble of talent that accomplished nothing. Because remember, the KT Super Team won when Pawn was out and UCAL came in. The real KT Super Team never won anything. And if you go look at that roster on paper, it's almost impossible to make a better super team on paper. Like, those are goats of their fucking positions all playing together, and they couldn't win anything. Anything. That is one of the most tragic storylines ever for me. Right. Danny O, in order to win Worlds in League, what do you think matters more? Who your best player is or who your worst player is?
Well, I think the answer, like, it's for me that's a little bit of a trick question, but in the direction of It's like it has to be your worst player has to be the answer. Because it's in the end, like if your worst player is pretty damn good, then the rest are pretty damn good too. Like I don't know what's happening with my roster if I only have one player who is the best at the tournament. I don't know if I'm getting Thorin and a bunch of other players. I don't know. Like if my worst player is pretty damn good, it means the rest is gonna be pretty damn decent too, and it sets a standard. I think we've moved on from the game being like, oh, one guy is gonna carry. Like we were just not at that point in time. Like one player has ruined many worlds runs for the LCK and the LPL teams, so that would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, for me, it's easily the worst player one, because you can have best players that can be matched by their best players. But first of all, I think of GenG and Top Esport. There have been some criminal bad players that I think just bottlenecked the whole team, no matter how good you are. And then also think of all the best Western teams of all time, and the worst rule applies. So even if you want to laugh at Broxer, bro, if peak Broxer is your worst player, you have a very good fucking international squad in League of Legends. Like, he's supposed to be like, like the middle of the table type player. And that was peak Broxer, who's actually landed all the kicks, etc. Go look at any team. That's the reason why the G2 Super Team was godlike. I don't even know who the worst player is. They're probably going to tell me Mickey X or something. He's still fucking cracked out, mate. He's still unbelievably good. Yeah, I'll take that. And then he also asks an extra question, but it's up to you if you want to answer this. On that note, is Faker the greatest worst player on a team of all time? He means in the recent wins.
I guess because at that point you just have to measure intangibles, right? I think at that point with the experience that he brings to the table and the advice he can give everyone, like I think that's what the next step is, right? It's like, what do you bring to the table that is not in the game? And it has to be Faker, because at the end of the day, sure, like last year at Worlds, he fucking popped off and carried. But 2023, I think he was the worst performing player on the team, and that's not like an insult. That's just D1.
Well, I agree. And I'd even say, I'll make the analogy that Faker winning in Worlds is like when Karrigan has won in FaZe Clan, if you know CS. Karrigan individually is fucking dog shit. He's like 35 years old or something, by the way. He was never that good in CSGO anyway. It was CS 1.6 he was good in. But the whole point is, you have him in the game because his mind is so good, his mind could win the game. That's what Faker did. But I agree, in terms of hands and that, I just got... This last one, he was better. 2023, he was fucking scuffed as shit. Right, Jack PM... Sometimes I wish there were more smaller content creators / YouTubers who do LL esports content and coverage. Are there any similar creators you'd like to spotlight? Could be past or present. So are there any small creators or YouTubers in League that you want to highlight?
Oh shit. It's like I see myself as a smaller creator. It's like, bro, like I'm trying to put in as many hours as possible to just stay intact with the game. Like I'm not. I don't have my ear to the ground at all. I think you probably have a way better answer on this to me, Thorin.
There's not as many in League now, because here's the thing. When everyone goes, lol, your views have gone down, right? There's two reasons why that are very obvious. One, in the modern day, you get views via the algorithm. Nobody uses the subscription box anymore. The reason why I used to get mad views is I had 250k subs and people opened the sub box. Now what they've done with the algorithm is you get served things that you already click on previously and like. Well, since my channel is League and CS all in one, half the people don't ever like the content or click it, because if it's a CS video, you don't click it if you're from League. And if it's a League video, you don't click it from CS. By the way, that's just like how the algo works. Then secondly, because Reddit is irrelevant and no one uses sub boxes anymore, if you don't get in the algo, you never get hits. It's why you get real pieces of esports content that have 300 views ever. Not on my channel, but on like real channels, like T-Borgs and stuff. EG was having videos that would get 40 views. Evil geniuses. So the problem is, in the modern day, there are no incentives, aside from love of the game, to be even doing any of this shit. And so I would just say there's a reason it's all died off. Oh, and also, by the way, all you people on Reddit, you downvoted and criticized and shit on every little content creator who came along. So they all quit, mate, and just went and got jobs in the industry and fucked off. So the only one left, she just does it for the love of the game, is I know Kelsey Moses still does that show, Making the Rounds with Emily Rand, where they sort of have like a podcast and they just talk about recent things in League. That's one. None of you watch it. None of you would watch it. It's all great analysis, by the way, by two of the best analysts ever in League of Legends, but people don't watch. So sadly, no, there isn't any anymore, and you guys killed it. So shout out to you for killing it. You'll never kill me. I am the unkillable demon king of content. Understand that, motherfucker. And you'll never see me bashing my head against the wall. Could make a reference there to like reckless fans. There's a million things I could go with on that one, mate. It's easy. It's all good. It's all good. I'll bash my head through the wall. I'm the juggernaut, bitch. There you go. How about that? That's also literally a 20-year-old meme from the internet, but it's all good. It's all good. Eventually, I'll get some updated material, Skibbity Riz or some shit like that. Right. Need for Speedo. Do you think it would be possible to write a book about LOL play, strategy, tactics, mechanics, which would stand the test of time? If so, who might be a good person to write it? Fucking hell. They asked too many questions here. That's the question we're doing for today, mate. You don't get 5 questions. That's the question. What do you think? Could you write a League of Legends? Essentially, could you write like a fundamentals of League of Legends concepts that wouldn't like be too aged by metas changing? And if so, who would you want to write it?
It has crossed my mind many times to do something like this because I just wanted to have plays and certain things that you do like mapped out, to have a library to be able to just access it and build something out. It's just the main challenge is that the game is changing too fucking drastically. It's like what happens to the segment about lane swaps after they decide to nuke it like completely is just redundant. And then it's like you want to create it in a way that it's so meticulously done that it covers every scenario. And covering every scenario when everything is very variable driven due to the amount of champions that are in the game, like I would think that you'd just go insane unless you want to do something that doesn't cover every aspect and is rather basic. Someone to write it is just like the legends of the game. It's like, in my mind still, it's like I would need someone to ghostwrite it because I don't think anyone that is smart enough about League, like myself or like somebody else, like Mebdi, Dom, whatever, it's like we are not writers. Like we are not writers. We need a ghostwriter. We need someone to sit down and do it well. I think a concept like this just wouldn't really work. Like I think it's just the game changes too much.
Here's the problem. You could do it. I actually did this for Counter-Strike in 1.6, and I was the ghostwriter, except obviously I put my name on it, with a bunch of pro players. And I've always told people, I put all 3 of our names on there because they all informed it. They answered my questions. But the joke is I just wrote 75% of it myself anyway, because what I did was I talked to them and realized pro players are inarticulate. I'm going to have to not only describe what they're talking about, but actually, since I've already studied a bunch of like sports coaching concepts, I'm just going to take and flesh out their ideas and make them more comprehensive. But the key concept is this, Yamato. The reason I sold a lot. I made like 20K myself just off these guides.
Oh, damn.
This is way back in the day, like 2008 or something. But the problem was all the comments on the internet were like, this didn't contain any secrets. I knew all of this. Because the whole point of fundamentals is they are fundamental. Ultimately, you all know how you can play safe in lane. You all understand you should use progressive overload concepts and like gradually build things in your game. You don't do it. You play for fun and you do whatever you feel like and you go aggro on a champion because you can get a kill and you go, lol, it doesn't matter. It's just so lucky. You all break the rules every fucking day and you never actually drilled the rules. So the problem is this. I do think you could make the guide, but as he implies, it'd have to be incredibly sort of like, basic concepts that wouldn't be too changed by specific tactics and strategies that implement in a patch. But if you did it, every fan who bought it would go, I bought this for the secret to become #1 on solo queue. This is just all stuff about practicing and playing properly and laning and actually last hitting and practicing last hitting in sandbox. And they wouldn't do it all, mate. So if I had to pick someone to write it, though, you nailed it. You already said one. I've got 2 names in the West that I would pick to write this guide. Mithy is one. I actually think Mithy's problem, I think he'd even admit as much. If you watch the Sackdown, he sort of does. Mithy's problem is this. He was always the smartest guy in the room as a player. And as a player, people would even sort of be like, what's Mithy got to say? Let's listen to him. You have our ear, sir. He never had to charismatically win you over and persuade you that, you know, that's what coaching is. If you're the coach, what he had to learn was his skill set was understand. He's a mega analyst, he's a mega drafter, all these things. But getting players to buy in and do, that's a whole skill set in itself that he had to learn himself when he became a coach. But this work, mate, Mithy would be the best for this. This is the guy who understands all the basic fundamental concepts and the things that timelessly work. The other one, an obvious one, we had the conversation earlier in the show. I think Core JJ could also do it. How many fucking times and players and teammates and metas and these people they just have a brain that's like a computer for League of Legends. You input the current data, they spit out the result. Right. We'll do a couple more and then we're going to wrap. Breaketh says, considering the hype and myth surrounding Abdo, the notorious solo queue player, Do you think he would have had a career that rivaled Faker, or possibly been the rival that we wish Faker had? Would he have been a transcendent, game-changing player? Thoughts?
No way. No way. It's like Abdo was very, very unique and strong, and like I think he was fantastic at mastering solo queue, but the mystery of it was a way bigger benefit than him going into pro play, because I think in that dream of thinking that Abdo would be better or be able to compete next to him, like it kind of removes all the variables of competition. It's like you're playing from the comfort of your home. He always wears that same shirt, sits in the same way. It's like that's a very, very particular environment that he performs under. And to then move into a team and to deal with all these pressures, there's a lot of great players in solo queue that never made shit out of themselves because the variables and the game is just different. You have had weaker players perform in big games and manage to go far, even though they aren't individually as good. I just think it just discounts so hard the idea of what competition is in my mind. I think if it happened, it would be a miracle because they're comparing him to Faker out of all people. Like Faker's had a career and just the right personality to thrive in this environment, and that's just extremely rare.
Two things. One, the problem with that concept is Faker had to have luck too. I think Faker and Tom Brady, if you restart their whole careers and they can do different paths, probably don't get as many rings themselves. They've almost like overperformed any expectation possible, including for themselves. So no, probably not. But I do think he could have been brilliant. The problem he had was this. Because he played in solo queue, which by definition had no voice comms, he was actually a master at using the other people as if they were NPCs and playing around them. To do the things he did, essentially the type of player he was in solo queue was almost some Doinby-esque figure of how he moved around the map and applied pressure and could jungle and could... Essentially, you'd have to actually be Doinby, though, and win people over. It's like the Mythy thing again. You can be super smart, but can you engage with people? Can you get them to work for you and do... That's the part we can't know. And thus far, Faker's one of the only people who's done it, along with, I don't know, Doinby, Zhao, who a couple of other names. And lastly, I forgot to mention this. The other person who would be a candidate for that guide is LS. The reason why it would be LS is he already, I think, should write an ebook that he sells for $10 or something, which is just like League of Legends drafting and play concepts related to Magic the Gathering. He clearly has like a brilliant overlap between those concepts and how he sees things he's taken from Magic the Gathering and trade card games and how they work in this. Obviously, the joke being, maybe right now he doesn't want to think about taking things from trading card games because people took his trading cards. That's just a fucking mean joke, but whatever. It's all good. Listen, even if you're a friend of mine and people have stolen millions of dollars from you, there's a funny side, you know. It's harsh. You know, that, you know what?
Humor in tough times.
Yeah, there's the thing. Those are really rare cards. They're even more rare now. Listen, I'm just who I am, mate. I'm just who I am. You got LS knows it. I have love for him. He's like a little brother to me. But I tell you what, if you're my little brother, sometimes I'll just, you little motherfucker, you can't get out. Mom's not here now, is she, you little fucking nuggy? Right, the last question is going to be, I do think Abdul was brilliant though. Gimlaw7 says, I'm already nervous whenever I read like sort of an Asian sounding name that could be like a swear word that I don't know that I've just read out loud, but whatever, it's all good. We're not on Twitch career right now. Teams will go to their investors and request additional funds to get a specific player of interest. True. It's actually why a lot of fans who go, you could never sign that player. It's like, mate, if I'm actually was signing Faker, I could go and get a sponsor that would give me the $3 million, you believe it or not. So he says, when are you guys going to present a plan to get Atlas on a show? I'm sure we can finance it. I don't even, what a shit question that was. Like, Atlas has already been on Something Insight in the past, I'm pretty sure. Like, but basically he just wants us to have Atlas on Something Insight. Like, what do you think? Should he come on as a guest?
I like Atlas. Well, I don't mind him. I don't know how opinionated he is, because it's like he projects what he sees, but will he go beyond what he sees? I don't know.
Good news for you. That's actually the underrated thing. I agree with you. He does a very good job as I'm the play-by-play guy when he does the LCK, but actually he has mad opinions, mate. Like he is the sort of person who, as a meme, thinks that like Beryl is like, as a meme, the GOAT or whatever. You know, he has some like spicy opinions like that, like kind of a bit naughty. So also, by the way, like everyone else, they all picked against T1 in 2023 Worlds, like Wolfenoms. They all got hated on by the T1 fans and the LCK fans. Were told they're all traitors, need to leave Korea, etc. So he'll give his opinions. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's actually the best caster in league. So that'll be the last one. There's a bunch more, but we'll roll some over and we'll do some more next week. Right, that's enough. That's the end of Summoning Insight. Goodbye.